going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Batman News Weekly. This is episode 176 in year 4, and it is early for us. All right, we both got things to do today, so we're recording way earlier than normal. So if I sound sleepy, it's because I am. What's up, Clay? How's your day going?
As I told you right before we started recording, there was a few bombs that were dropped in my very early morning, so it could be better, but I'm excited to talk about some news topics that we have. We have what is probably going to be a new segment within our podcast, but only on certain weeks. So that's going to be fun. And I was looking at it and we had a lot of books given to us this week, but not a whole lot of books to like actually read. There's one book in particular that was kind of hefty, and I feel like it didn't need to be,
Are we talking about Catwoman?
Yeah.
So Catwoman has a lot of things I want to talk about for sure. Or we're talking about Catwoman One Bad Day, not Catwoman, because we don't cover that anymore.
Correct.
That book was, I flipped through it and I was like, what's happening here? Really weird stuff. So kind of sucks. But yeah, we will have also be talking about Mark Hamill possible retirement, another Lego Batman movie, the Harley Quinn Valentine's Day special trailer, and more Gunn talking about Guardians of the Galaxy stuff. And then, of course, your viewer questions. But let's dive into the Mark Hamill news, because it isn't 100%, but it does seem like he's kind of done as the Joker.
Yes, because let's go ahead and get the elephant out of the room. He has said this before.
Yeah.
But it was really always on one, like him coming back was always on the realization, oh, Kevin Conroy's coming back. So of course I'll come back. And when I shared this article to other friends, because I know you shared it in the Discord.
Yeah.
When I shared it to other friends, I said, what a depressing fucking quote. And not so much of like, oh man, he's never gonna be the Joker again, but just like realizing once again, like, oh, he will never be the Joker because Kevin Conroy can't come back for Batman.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only reason. And I think that is a right reason to stop being the Joker, if it's true.
Yeah, I think you could do that. I think, losing one of the voices could be the reason why you change everybody. Granted, Tara Strong, I think, is still on the younger side compared to Hamill and, Conroy. So I think she can still go on being like Harley and stuff like that. But for the most part, if Hamill was ever going to retire, I don't see why he wouldn't do that there, unless he's interested in working with somebody else. I don't know who else he's worked with before that he was like, oh, they are a good Batman. Maybe I come back for one more thing. Yeah. But I think him and Conroy were just so iconic that he probably ends it there.
Now, I do want to preface also, people have data mined the free game multiverses, and they have found some information that is possibly that Mark Hamill is voicing the Joker in there. But if that is true, then it is possibly something that he already did before, while Kevin Conroy was still alive. And
isn't Conroy the Batman in that though?
Exactly. Yeah. So that's something else I was gonna say is that like he would literally playing Joker alongside a Kevin Conroy Batman in that game. So I think that would be okay if it does end up releasing.
It's going to be very interesting, man, because with everything going on in the AI space right now, you're going to be able to mimic his voice. And it's at that point, like, you as consumers, if you don't like that, are going to have to not support that. Because if companies know they can get away with it, because they'll just buy his rights, right? Like, they'll just buy his likeness and all that kind of jazz.
Well, if you don't know, because I don't know if you ended up watching the show, I know you're not really like hardcore into the Star Wars stuff, but when Mark Hamill's appearance came up on most recently the Book of Boba Fett, he was almost completely AI generated. Now, the legitimate Mark Hamill did come in and sit there and do some of the movements and acted it out, but he did not do any of the dialogue. He didn't go back to ADR. the production company actually used his voice and
Yeah.
computer generated his voice, and that was for 2 entire episodes.
Yeah. So I mean, the technology's there. So like that would just be, I don't know, unfortunate, because like Marvel just pent like millions of dollars to like get all of Stan Lee's rights and likeness, didn't they? Because they want to
I
put him in a
believe
bunch of
so.
stuff. And
Yeah.
it's just like, as long as they can make money off of you, they're gonna do it. And
Mhm.
I just don't know if I'd be. It's like the discussion we had a couple weeks ago about, do you let newer artists redraw old comics, right? And we were kind of like, no, you don't do that. You can if it's like a flashback, like that's totally fine. But doing a whole thing is just, that's like a big no-no. Granted, I still said I would pay Clayman to redo those 3 issues. But like, yeah, I just think I hope that doesn't happen with Conroy, but I don't know who's in charge of his estate. I don't know if he had
Yeah.
children. I don't know anything like that. And I don't know who has his estate. And somebody that has his estate, if they're on hard times, might be like, I mean, I can make some millions off of this. Why not? You know, unless
Yeah.
he like specifically wrote that in his will or something like that. Like, my rights cannot be sold, like blah, 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 blah. But then where does it come into effect with like, what do they call it? Not fair use, but when something time lapses, I'm forgetting the word.
Oh, public domain.
Public domain. Is that part of humans? Does that work on humans? You
Dear
know?
God, I didn't even think about that.
Like,
Like,
what is
owning rights
technically, yeah,
to human likeness, can that enter the
yeah.
public domain?
Like, so like you're a big
That's
Elvis guy, right?
wild.
You're a
Yeah.
big Elvis guy. Apparently, Elvis, if anybody has a photo of Elvis, you own the rights to own the photo, but not to publish it, is what I've heard. So, like, if your
That
grandma
does
were to
sound
take,
right. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
if
yeah.
your grandma took a photo with Elvis, she can own it. Like, she's like, oh, I took a photo with Elvis. But if she tried to sell it to like TMZ, she can't do that because his rights are so like crazy. So,
That's
like,
wild.
one, I don't know how everybody doesn't have that, because then you could just like, I don't know, paparazzi wouldn't be able to ever do anything, which I think should
Yeah.
be a thing, because I don't think paparazzi should be a career, to be honest. But yeah, I don't know, man. I'm curious how it works with people, because like everybody could do anything with Shakespeare's work, and I guess you could do anything as Shakespeare because he's dead. So like, I don't know. That's something I definitely want to look into now, because like in 70 years or whatever, is Conroy's stuff over? Like, you know, because it's when they die, right? It's when the creator dies. Is it starts?
I I believe so. Now,
'Cause-
it may be different in regards to the Stanley thing. And from what we had heard, like, Disney made the purchase
Mhm.
for Stanley's likeness to prevent anybody else from using it. Not
Ah,
necessarily to not necessarily to be like, "Oh, we're going to use him in a lot of things,"
yeah,
but more so to be like, "Hey, we're going to protect the family estate and his likeness for, whatever," right?
yeah.
I think the only one that has used him since his death is technically the Across the Spider-Verse trailer, which is the
Mhm.
sequel to Into the Spider-Verse, and all they did was use a flashback for the first
Yeah,
movie.
yeah,
And that's really it. Uh Now, I think that, like, in that instance, they purchased those uh rights a little bit after his death. Like, I think,
yeah,
like, almost like a full year after his death.
yeah.
And for everybody else, though, I think it would kind of just be like, boom, he's dead. Now you own those rights, you know? So
Anybody owns those rights?
I think it's to the estate, and then they could
Yeah,
like sell it off if they want
yeah,
to.
yeah, yeah. I think intellectual property, though, when it comes to be public domain, it's 70 years or something like that after death. I am pretty sure I have
Oh,
the
yeah, yeah,
amount of
yeah.
years
Sorry, I got
wrong.
confused. I got
Yeah,
confused. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Of
It's
course,
the
whoever owns
public
his
domain
rights
is
can do
70
whatever they
years.
want.
It's either 70 or 80, actually, I think.
Well, I know that I don't want to get political on this thing, but apparently Republicans are super pissed at Disney in Florida, and Disney has like special rights to their characters, and now there's like a lot of Republicans that want to lower the public domain years amount to fuck over Disney. They didn't like Disney supporting LGBT rights.
Well, like the really big thing right now is the original Mickey Mouse, which is Steamboat Willie. Steamboat Willie is about to go into public domain.
Yeah.
And like I know that kind of what you're saying, politicians are wanting to screw Disney over for Steamboat Willie. But the new reiteration of what Mickey Mouse looks like via Fantasia and onward, that is still within public domain. It's gonna be wild, man.
It's every like new version counts as a new thing, I guess. So like you can use old school Winnie the Pooh, but like not the newer version, I guess. I don't know. It's really weird because they made that movie already, which looks like Winnie the Pooh in a horror style.
Yeah, Blood and Honey. It comes out the same week as Ant-Man, and within the same week of Blood and Honey, that movie Cocaine Bear comes out. It's wild, man.
I love that stupid movies are coming out. Like, I really enjoy that because we need something to fight against a lot of the superhero movies. I hope the rumors of Marvel dialing it back are true.
From what I've been seeing, it is 100% true. Like, it looks like they're like almost like 2.5 slates that they had announced at D23 or at San Diego Comic-Con and D23. It is now being stretched. It's no longer 2.5 years. It looks like it might be 3 or even 4 years.
Yeah.
So
because what do we get, like 4 movies a year now?
Well, this year was probably last year, 2022 was the heaviest year for Disney in regards to TV shows and movies. It was a lot. And this year, it looks like we are getting, I think, 4 movies and 3 TV shows. But with how the shows drop weekly, it is like we're getting new Marvel content almost weekly.
3 movies a year is the sweet spot. One at the start, one in the middle, one at the end. Granted, those ones at the end and the start will overlap or be near each other. I remember if we got 2, it'd just be like, oh shit, 2 superhero movies this year. And now it's like, dude, we're getting like 5. Like, what the fuck? Like, it's just too much, man. You don't have time to like savor it and enjoy it, you know, because like you don't enjoy the release anymore. Like when it's like on digital release, like because you got new movies coming out, so it's just like fuck it. Like
it's really hard, and it's hard to keep the hype up for movies because it's like, oh, but the next one comes out in 2 weeks. You're like, Jesus Christ.
And that one's a team up with all of the superheroes, and it's just like, well, why do I fucking care about this one? Anyways. I will say, if we have seen the last of Mark Hamill as the Joker, ain't nobody beating him. He's the greatest Joker of all time. Don't care what anybody says. Just like Conroy is the greatest Batman of all time. But I don't know. Hamill is amazing. I want to see Hamill write a Joker story. Don't know if it'll be good, but I want him to be in the comic sphere.
I would be okay with him retiring and then being like, hey, I do have one more Joker story though, and not voice it, and like you say, write it out or script it or something. I think that would be really cool.
Because I just want him to be in every genre that Conroy was. Although unless you're doing I would love for James Gunn to just like have a flashback of Hamill as a like really old Joker in his like just when Flash is running through or something like that. That'd be really cool. So that way you can say he was the live action Joker, you know. And do something along those lines. Because I would love to have him in every genre that Conroy got to play Batman in, you know. But, you know, it is what it is. I mean, hey, you never know, though, right? They could back up a dump truck of money to his house and be like, okay, I got one more Joker in me, you know? So you never know. But anyways, what is this next topic? Another Lego Batman movie rumored. I have not heard about this.
So it's not a movie. It is... a game. The 4th Lego Batman game is rumored to be in development. This is via Reddit on Game Leaks and Rumors. It says here, a developer confirming Lego Batman 4 is happening in Lego Disney cancellation leak. So this is just something from Reddit. I do want to emphasize that. But the fact that this is a thing is really surprising, considering we went from Lego Batman, Lego Batman 2, Lego Batman 3, and then jumped all the way to DC super villains,
Mhm.
which was that massive Lego game. I still haven't played it. It was on PlayStation Plus at one point, so I do own it because of PlayStation Plus, but I have not had the chance to play it. I've been wanting to. Having a Batman 4, that's going to be interesting. When this news came out, as far as the rumor, I immediately like sent it to friends and be like, "Boom, it's canon now. All
Mhm.
all video games are canon to the DCU.
Nice.
Lego Batman is canon." Um, I I really enjoyed Lego Batman 3. It's the only Lego Batman game that I've played. I haven't played
Yeah.
1 or 2. Uh, I would be okay with this. I think that Lego has a weird genre, or is a weird genre that is like actually really, really fun. I
Mhm.
think that the humor works perfectly as far as like Batman's dry humor along with Lego humor. Some people may call it a little MCU-esque,
Yeah.
but it is for
That's
kids.
the new thing now.
Yeah.
I don't know if you were keeping up with all the Forspoken stuff, but it was like, "It's MCU stuff."
Oh, well, when you shared it, I was like,
Yeah.
"What the hell is this?" And then I saw more friends share it, and I was like, "Okay,
Yeah.
let me actually watch the video." It's a very small scene that is completely taken out of context.
Yeah.
Uh, but I think that for one,
Did you have an issue with the dialogue though? I didn't. And I'm
I
the
I
worst. I complain
I
about everything.
I did not have an issue with the dialogue because for one, I didn't know these characters,
Mhm.
and
That's
I
exactly
think
what I thought.
I think for something like a new character, new game,
Yeah.
you can't immediately think like, "Oh, cringe," because like this is a brand new franchise.
Yeah.
Like this character literally has endless mounds of character development in the future if they want to
Yeah.
make a Forspoken 2 or whatever they want to call it or whatever. So when it comes to humor with new characters, I'm totally fine with it as long as it fits within the genre
Yeah.
and it somewhat fits to what I am seeing on screen. And what I saw on screen with that Forspoken thing, it sounded like a genuine back and forth.
Yeah. So my thing is because I feel like a lot of people would watch that clip and they'd be like, Juice is gonna hate this. And I'm like, okay, I gotta clear this up because I feel like I gotta clear up a lot of things. The reason why I hate the MCU and the MCU humor is because it took serious characters and made them funny. That's why I hate it so much. Especially Thor. That's why I hate Thor 3 so much because they made him a fucking idiot. And I don't like it, especially when he followed the first two where he's talking about science and magic and like all this crazy stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And I just thought it was so dumb. And that's why I hate the MCU because everybody's got to be funny. There are certain characters that I'm totally cool with being funny and having quips. I just don't like that. With Forspoken, this is a brand new character, and I was like, yeah, I was like, she can be like that. She's a teenager. I totally expect that kind of thing to come from a teenager. And I saw a lot of people pointing out they're like, all of you bitching about this game had no problem when Deadpool was doing it or when Rick and Morty do it. Like, what's the difference here? Also, doesn't help that the main character is a female person of color. Just gonna
Yeah.
throw that out there. A lot of people, oh, you're just throwing that in there. Hey, it just seems like that's what people always bitch about. I'm just throwing that out there.
Mhm.
But the interesting thing, I don't know if you know about this. Apparently, that game's an isekai. So it's I guess character dies and gets sent to another universe. I think so. That's isekai humor through and through.
Yeah.
So like pretty crazy stuff. I kind of want to whenever there's a backlash for a game, I always want to play it. I literally bought this game and I'm probably going to do a video on it in the future, although the game's been out for years, but I haven't even got to play it yet. There was a game called Hatred. I don't know if you ever saw that game.
Oh, yes.
Hatred got
Yeah.
so much shit because you're a main character that basically does mass shootings, which is
Yeah.
kind of crazy. And I mean, but when you really think about it, in the scope of video games, is not crazy because
Correct. Yeah.
GTA, you do that all the time and nobody bats an eye. But they're like, oh my God, the game got thrown off Steam. They're like, this game should be canceled and blah, blah. I bought that shit so fast. I was like, oh, you got to support it. So I love playing games that people shit on for no reason.
Now, Forspoken does have a demo on PlayStation. So if you want to play
Yeah.
a little bit of it to get at least what it feels like, you could definitely do
Yeah.
that. Um
I'll have to
but
try
in
that out.
but in regards to Lego Batman, have you ever played any of the Lego Batmans? Is this going to be
Uh,
interesting for you as far as like something that you would play? Because
no.
we had the conversation last week about like, DC really needs to come back with good games.
Yeah.
Like, my one worry is how the hell are they going to make a battle pass for Lego Batman?
Oh God. Different outfits, different voices, maybe change the voice. That would be kind of cool though. If you could change the voice, that would be so much work though.
Oh yeah.
I don't play the Lego games. I heard Star Wars was really funny. I heard you could beat up the kids in Star Wars or something like that. Maybe I don't know. I saw somebody getting fucked up in midair, and I
Yeah,
was like, "Oh,
so
I want to
so
do that."
the big thing is that, like, in a lot of games, famously Fallout,
Mm,
you could not kill the kids, and
yeah,
like
I try every time.
people would attempt and try and
Yeah,
try and try. Same thing I believe with Red Dead Redemption.
yeah. I
And
haven't
so
got to try
like
again.
so so
Yeah.
with Star Wars, Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker saga
Mhm.
game, that's the first thing people did is like as
Yeah,
soon as they saw a little kid Anakin, they're like,
yeah.
we're gonna fuck him up. And you could actually
Games
do
are
it,
an
which is
outlet, man.
hilarious.
They're an outlet for you to do the shit that you shouldn't be doing in your real life. You know what I mean? I'd rather somebody beat up kids in a video game all day long than in fucking real life, Because those people
True.
are scum. But I think gaming, do whatever the fuck you want. Let out all your fucking villainous ideas and ways. That's why GTA, I think, is just a fucking perfect game. But anyways, I've never played the Lego games. They look fun, but dude, I don't even have time to play the games I want to play. So like trying new games is just so hard.
Yeah.
But no, I hope it's something good. But to go back to your comment about like it's canon now, it can be with what we just saw from all the different worlds that DC just introduced. There is a world where the characters are comic book characters in a real world. So the Lego characters could be in their own world. So like, and people just play with them or whatever. So it could technically be canon. So very interesting stuff. Oh, we don't have this on the list, but let's jump to it. Uh Doom Patrol Titans officially canceled. Now I'm sad about Doom Patrol, not sad about Titans. I didn't even see that last season, but season 3 ended so horribly badly that I wish it would have gotten canceled then. So,
In my head, it was canceled after 3.
yeah. How you got past how they had 3 terrible finales in a row blows my mind. And that last one ended with Purple Rain and like just the most ridiculous ending
It
ever. I was
was
just like,
fucking wild.
I just don't. How much money did they pay for Purple Rain to do that?
Now, I want to go ahead. This is part of our kind of like James Gunn talk.
Yeah.
But he did make a statement because somebody, of course, a Snyder bot, I'm going to call him a
Mhm.
bot because he recently said he wasn't. But he goes, with DC Doom Patrol and DC Titans officially ending due to the new direction of James Gunn and Safran, all the fans can say is good luck. It's a mighty big hill you have to climb to win the majority of fans over who enjoyed the shows and movies. I'll be kicking my feet up waiting.
Yeah.
And James Gunn responded with, the decision to end the series precedes us, but I certainly wish the best for the talented group of creators, actors, and the rest of the crew that produced both shows.
Yeah. Doom Patrol was good. I never even saw the second or third season, but I heard it was good. And so I want to go back and watch that. I will not watch season 4 of Titans.
Season 3 of Doom Patrol kind of like was starting to go downhill
Mm,
in my eyes. They not in the same vein as Legends of Tomorrow, but like they knew what they were, so they leaned into it. And I think
yeah.
season 3 leaned into it a little too much.
They are getting meta. Is that
Yeah.
kind of, yeah. Yeah. I hate when they do that, but I don't know. I'll go back and watch that eventually. Maybe I could throw that on in the background now, since I know it's not going to be more stuff because I'm going through Doctor Who again just because I'm working. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna throw Doctor Who on there. So good
Nice.
still. Jenna Coleman, I think, does not get enough praise for being such a good companion. She's so amazing. But anyways, yeah. So they're both canceled. I am curious if any of them will dive into the new DCU. Like, I would love to see what is her name? Oh my Garrera. Daniela Garrera? Is that her first name? I don't know if that's her first name.
Oh
It's
shoot.
Guerrero, maybe.
I
But
know
she
who you're
plays
talking
Crazy
about.
Jane.
Yeah.
So I would love to see her in the DCU going forward. I would love to see pretty much all of them. maybe not the Cyborg guy. I feel like they haven't cast Cyborg. I think Ray Fisher could have been a good Cyborg, but he kind of fucked himself. But like, I just still don't think we have gotten a great Cyborg, and I just wonder if they're not gonna mess with that character.
Well, it looks like they are revamping. This is going to be not really on the segment that we're going to be talking about because it's not Batman related, but it's coming out in May. They are doing a new Cyborg comic.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember this, but I believe it was the last Fandom. Milestone announced that they were doing a Milestone initiative, which they were like basically inviting anybody who, and I believe it was any person of color who would love to write comics to submit an application, get into like a writing process challenge, and then see who comes out as like a new writer for DC.
Yeah.
Well, somebody who did go through that process is writing the new Cyborg comic coming out in May. And they gave him a brand new look. Which
how do you feel about that? Because he has more face.
He has more face. He's wearing a jacket. He's wearing pants. I think, and it may just be the art. It looks dope. I really like it.
I don't have a problem with the design. I was weirded out that he had more face. And I'm like, how does he have more face? Like, I was like, that's kind of weird. Because they went with the Doom Patrol Cyborg. If you notice, it's only half of his eye and like brain.
Oh, that's true. I'm actually gonna share it here on the screen for
they
us.
went with that look, which I don't have a problem. I think it looks kind of cool. He looks more like he's in a varsity jacket, like football kind of thing.
Yeah.
So so I don't have a problem with it. Now I do know Cyborg can change his look, but I don't think he could add body parts. Now, granted, if you wanted to do a story where the the mother box technology is starting to recreate his human body, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
So, and I don't think a story that's been told with Cyborg.
No, I think that was one thing that there is a story point, I believe, in season 3, minor spoilers, where Cyborg is, I don't remember exactly how it ends, but he's considering getting like nanotech skin grafts to hide a majority of his cybernetic body. So maybe that could be something that can be implemented in comics. Now, it kind of goes into the whole thing of like, am I embarrassed of who I am and whatnot, and all of that storyline.
Good story.
I think it is a compelling story. So if they decide to do that, I would totally be cool with it.
Yeah. Although this cover that I'm looking at has him running out with the football team. Come on, he can't play football. Like, that's just not fair. He can probably rip people in half and stuff. Like, that is not cool. He's going to get like 1,000 yards a game. Like, unless, like, come on. He's going to be able to pinpoint accurately throw the ball. Like, that's not fair. Anyways, let's move on to, well, kind of we're in the same realm. What is this James Gunn response to Guardians of the Galaxy cast?
So we talked about it last week in regards to like, is Chris Pratt and the rest of the Guardians of the Galaxy really going to be in the DCU, right? Yeah. Are they really going to be working within DC Studios? And so somebody did say, James Gunn, please do not encourage the Guardians of the Galaxy cast to follow you into the DCU. Find fresh actors that can craft brilliant characters and forge new memories for audiences. Instead of swimming in the same muddy pond, I know I am not alone in this feeling. Rebirth, not reuse, please. And James Gunn responded with, we have hundreds of roles to cast, as I've always done. Some will be brand new faces, some will be actors I've worked with before, and some will be actors who I've never worked with. What matters most is the actors fits the roles, and they're easy to work with.
Yeah.
That last comment, and they're easy to work with. Very funny in regards to what we just made a comment with Ray Fisher and some other rumors. Did you know I recently didn't do a deep dive, but I kind of started searching because I know this was brought up in the Discord at one point. Did you notice all of the like Henry Cavill is a toxic man baby articles that were coming out?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I don't know if James Gunn saw those and was like, hey, maybe Henry as Superman is not a great idea.
Yeah.
But like I've also seen that the narrative was really pushed by like the Witcher Netflix production.
Mhm.
And they were pushing the narrative that he was like a toxic actor to work
Yeah.
with.
I feel like there's conflicting stories there because apparently that writing room wanted him to be eye candy for the show,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like really into source material, so that could be fighting there. But it's Henry Cavill can be really into source material and be a diva. Like it can be both, and people need to
Yes.
understand that. And I feel like a lot of people think everything is black and white, and it's like it's not, dude. There's so much gray in the world. Like it can be both.
Yeah.
And so I kind of think that I don't think that is in reference to Henry Cavill personally. James Gunn has talked about how people on his set, he doesn't really improvise stuff. Like he wants them to do the scripts. So he doesn't want to deal with divas. So I think that's just kind of part of how he goes into it. He's like, I like to hire people that I know work well. It's kind of like Nolan. Nolan uses all of his same actors over and over for every film. You know what I mean? And I feel like that one guy that played Scarecrow, his career's been carried by Nolan because he's in all of his movies. And so I think James Gunn has he's been around long enough to know that actors can be divas. They want their own things, they want their own shots and all that kind of stuff. And I've heard like ridiculous stories of how like directors, there are actors on sets that will mess up their lines purposely to where they have to do reshoots in the future. So that means that they get their own shot in the movie. Like they purposely fuck up team up lines. So they have to do
Jesus
a close up
Christ.
later. Like there's so many things that are dumb in the movie industry. So I think that's kind of what he's probably referencing. I also think it's kind of maybe it's throwing a little bit of shade at Jared Leto, which would be the biggest thing to let people know he's not coming back as the Joker. And so, because everybody said he was a terror to work with because he was trying to be, what do they call it? Method with the Joker. Yeah. And so I think that's kind of hinting at something like that. But that's kind of good news, though, I don't even think we covered this last week because I think it came out right after we recorded, but we didn't cover the Momoa stuff, did we?
No, we did not.
So for those of you that don't know about the Momoa stuff, he had a video that came out where he was talking to the security guard at WB Studios or a WB property, I assume, where he's like, just had a meeting with DC, going really well. He tells this guy, he's like, were you here 4 years ago? He's like, I don't know if you remembered, I showed up in my Jeep and I went, woo! And I did that whole thing. He was like, I'm going to do it again. They told me to be quiet, but I don't care. And he like does his whole Jason Momoa freaking, yodel kind of thing that he does. And like, he is like super happy. He's like, man, I'm so happy about like, man, the next 4 years are, he was like, it took me 4 years to talk about whatever. He was like, the next 4 years are going to be amazing. I'm super excited. And then he like leaves. But then there was another interview because I don't know what he's promoting right now. But he did another interview and somebody was asking, they're like, so, we're hearing all this stuff about DC. And he flat out says, they're like, Aquaman 3, like, is that going to happen? And everybody on the couch kind of laughs and they're like, oh, no, like, we're getting these questions, And Momoa's like, he is like, because I think it was a female interviewer was asking, is it going to be, can we get a fun, loving Aquaman story, where he's swimming around doing some really cool stuff? And he's like, I doubt it. He was like, I'm just too dramatic. He's like, it's going to have to be something, whatever. And then he also says, he was all like, I know a lot of people are saying like somebody's going to come in and like replace me. He's like, nobody's taking shit. He's like, I'm Aquaman and I can even be more stuff. And so right there, my theory of him being Aquaman and Lobo, very possible. Because if you CGI Lobo to make him bigger, like that crazy looking Lobo, like in the comics, Jason Momoa could just do the voice. And they can model it after Momoa a little bit and just make it more Lobo. I think that's totally dope. And he could be both. Because again, I think it would just be such a bad move. If Aquaman 2 does just as good or close to what Aquaman 1 did, to recast him. Why would you do that? I also think Momoa is genuinely, like, he's genuine when he talks about like the environmental stuff. He started that water company, all that kind of stuff. I think he's genuine when it comes to those kind of stories. And I think he wants to keep Aquaman as a character because he feels he's a good spokesman, for environmental issues.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important to him. And so I would love for him to play both.
And I want to, again, we have to keep doing this because there's so many people that think that Deadpool did it first. Deadpool debuted in Marvel Comics in 1991. It was published in 1990. So the idea of Deadpool came in sometime before 1990. Lobo, his first appearance was in 1983.
Nice.
Lobo
what is the comparison here? I don't know what you're comparing.
So the talk about Jason Momoa being Lobo and like the conversations of Lobo and like Lobo is getting more and more talked about within social media. And so there's a lot of like, I would say not real comic book fans are just seeing these clips from either Superman the Animated Series or the Superman Man of Tomorrow animated movie and seeing how Lobo is acting. And they're like, oh, it's just another Deadpool. Deadpool did it first. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And they are wanting to just like be these gatekeepers that like, oh, the only character that could ever be like that is Deadpool. It's like, guys, you need to understand. Deadpool was a ripoff to begin with of Deathstroke. So not even Deadpool did it first. Okay.
Yeah.
Like that's what they need to understand. But more so when it comes to the idea of like talking in the third person, like talking to the fourth wall and everything else, Lobo did that first.
Yeah.
In regards to the two, not necessarily he's the very first character, to do that, because I'm sure you can go even further into comics and you could see characters talking to the fourth wall, talking in the third person, things like that. So,
oh yeah, comic strips did that all the time, like Garfield and stuff like that. So it's not a new thing to do, but it's like it's just us getting older and the younger generations here. There's really people like, that's the guy from Fortnite. Like, it's like, oh, you fucking little, I'll punch you out this window. Like, it's just, people don't know how to research, right? Which is a big problem. And I'm not going to lie, even when I was in college, I hated sourcing material and putting all that shit back in the day. Now I do it all the time. Cause I'm just like, all right, let me, it's just a way to prove your point. But people, I mean, we deal with people that don't even care about facts anymore. So like you can tell them that Lobo was created in the 80s. No, I saw it on the movies first. So technically he's in there first. And it's just like, oh, okay. All right, bro. Dude, one thing I will say, because we're jumping all around today. It's early again. A lot of people like Titans. I noticed that on Twitter. And I was just like, why?
Wild.
But
I don't know why.
I'm just like, I would love to know why. Like, if you could go into somebody's brain and see why they like something, I feel like I would learn so much because I'm just curious. Like, I felt like some of the CW shows were better to watch than Titans, and Titans had a better budget. And like, I don't understand it, but hey, man, you'll never know what people like. That's why you should just create what you want to create because you might find an audience because you never know. But I think Titans is so bad. But anyways, let's move on to another thing that has this been confirmed to get another season, or Harley Quinn dropped a Valentine's Day special trailer. And are we getting another season of this, or are we just getting Velma from now on?
I think we're getting it one more season. I think that it was confirmed that we were getting another season. Where that is, I have no idea. I haven't heard anything about it. Since the announcement. But we are getting this random Valentine's Day special. I unfortunately did not get the chance to watch the trailer, but I think you did.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love it. So like it's Valentine's Day, and I don't know if there's like a potion or something going around or whatever, but everybody's kind of like, Zatanna is with Flash, and like they're doing like this little going by the screen. You have like all the other characters, like Catwoman, and Harley is doing this monologue of like, Valentine's Day is the one day that you can do cringy stuff for somebody that you like or whatever, And so like Catwoman, I think, buys something for Batman or whatever. And of course it's like Harley and Ivy doing all this stuff and everybody's trying to find love, right? But it just gets like crazier and crazier. There is literally a scene at the very end where there's somebody just eating somebody out, like straight up. And it's not a
What?
character. It's like everybody's just fucking on the street, and you're just like, what the
Jesus
shit?
Christ.
Like, it's crazy. And I'm like, so apparently it can happen in the show. It just can't be with the characters,
It
which
just
is
can't be
so
with
wild.
Batman.
So I don't know how you justify that, because it's like, you can't show kids, like, you can show them that, but you can't show the characters doing that. Like, it makes no sense at all. But the trailer is wild, and I was like, that's what I missed in Harley Quinn. Like, that was awesome. I need to go back and finish that season, because I just haven't done that either. That's something I could probably put on in the background. But yeah, I thought it was wild. I love that they're actually doing a holiday special, because a lot of people just do Christmas, Thanksgiving every once in a while. Rarely do I see Valentine's Day touched a lot. Maybe sitcoms do it every once in a while, but comedy channels, like animations, like, that's really cool. So I think it works with Harley and Ivy. And yeah, I just thought it was a wild trailer. If you guys have not seen it, I think you should watch it. And yeah, I just think it's cool that they're doing something in between the seasons, So yeah. Also, I think Kelly Coco is a really good Harley Quinn, especially for that show. So we'll go there. I'm reading this article. It's just a headline. I just want to put it out there, because I didn't know that Bruce Timm admitted that the Batman film Mask of the Phantasm makes him cringe. I guess because he thought they could do better, but I don't know why he thinks.
Why is it cringe? Like, is there
It
any
makes
quote?
him cringe. So I'm assuming it's like the artist thing, where you look back on your old work and think it could be better.
Yeah.
I would think that's some of his best work, though.
He's like, I just need Batgirl fucking Batman in that book.
Yeah.
Or in that movie.
Yeah. Nothing's ever going to top that, So I don't know. That film is perfect. So I don't know what he thinks. But being as somebody who does a lot of, I look back on my old YouTube videos and think they're cringe. So I understand where he's probably coming from, but he's wrong. That film is perfect. Going from there, I think we've got through all of our topics. So I think let's dive into viewer questions.
Well,
Did I
guess
miss anything?
do you want to save like the comic book news and solicitations for like right before comics, or do you want to do it now and then go into?
Let's do it right before comics, because I feel like people that are listening to the reviews would care about that more. So we'll do it right before that. We have one comment in the Discord, so let's go ahead and knock that out. From Arwix. I'm sure you guys talked about this when Batman trailers came out, but what are your thoughts on actors not wanting to gain muscle for their comic roles? I'm not talking about blasting steroids, just putting in a decent amount of work in. So this is Robert Pattinson's doing. He was the one that was very vocal about it. Granted, I think he has a point that we do put too much focus on perfect bodies. I think that is a valid argument.
Yes.
But for preference, I would like my superheroes to look like they're the peak specimen.
Yes, and it's a very conflicting kind of conversation, like you said, because for one, like, you look at a superhero and you're like, there's no way I could be like that. And then you see like a shirtless scene, and then all of a sudden they're not buff whatsoever. You're like, holy shit, that's exactly like me. I could be Batman. But at the same time, like, we have, I think, what would surprisingly be the best example of that of a Batman, and we saw fucking Ben Affleck. As ripped as he could be, we saw him via the costume and via naked, shirtless. It was
working out.
And working out. It was insane. And I think I kind of have to put the blame on Henry Cavill. Because he was so massive as Superman. Like, I still remember the picture of him standing next to his like 7-foot tall statue, and him being more muscular than the statue. It's like, dear God, how do you do it?
I don't know if Henry Cavill is natty, though, as the fitness gurus would say. So, because
what the hell does that mean?
Natural. It's their slang, natty. He's not natty, as they say. Because like apparently that's like the huge thing to be like, if they're natural or not. Apparently they say Hemsworth is steroided out, because there's just no way.
I could believe it just because like there was recently a photo, I think right after he filmed Thor Love and Thunder, where he was walking with his kid and the dude had pencils for legs.
Yeah.
It was so weird to see him so big and then be like so big from like the shoulders to like his arms, his torso, and then all of a sudden his legs be like these thin little things.
If you want to see a funny thing, is Zac Efron's pretty roided out right now. I think he's filming for the Von Erichs film. I think he's one of the Von Erichs, if I'm not mistaken. He's got pencil legs, like it's crazy.
Really?
But his top is huge. Like he looks fucking muscular. But yeah, I think a lot of those dudes are doing steroids. So it's one of those things out there. Men, if you are looking to have that perfect body, even women that might be listening to this podcast, a lot of those dudes that you see that are fucking, you admire, they're on roids, man. Like,
well, and this also comes back to, I think Arwitz may have seen this online, and this is why he's asking the question, is a lot of people have been asking Hugh Jackman, like, do you use steroids? Do you use steroids? Do you use steroids? And he was like, oh no, that's all natural. That's all natural. That's all me.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember how toned and ripped he was specifically for the Wolverine.
Yeah.
I think that was when he was peak. Like, don't get me wrong, he was a little bit older at that point. But I think if you look at him throughout every single film, I think the Wolverine had him in his most like comic book accurate, like muscular tone.
Yeah.
And it was intense.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest reasons why he quit the superhero genre was, I don't want to keep doing this to my body.
Yeah.
And when he was announced to be back for Deadpool 3, a lot of people were saying, cool, don't destroy his body. Just give him a comic book accurate suit so you can hide all the muscles.
Yeah.
Right? To hide his natural body. You can like put padding, make it look like he has a six pack, do whatever you want
You just
with the costume.
arms. That's all you need.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But like there's more articles coming out that like he's actually going to be putting himself through hell again to work out. It's just like, you don't have to do it.
Yeah.
Like we have the technology and we have the costume design.
Yeah.
You don't have to destroy your body.
If you've ever seen Terminator Salvation, they made Arnold Schwarzenegger look great because they gave him the old 80s body when he was all naked and like fucking perfect.
When he was what did they, the strongest man?
Yeah.
Right? That used to be like his title? 100%. And with Batman and Superman and all of these other heroes that we're going to be seeing in the future, like, let's be completely honest. One of the biggest things that used to be a criticism towards him, which is actually really stupid. Me and you actually had a comment on this. Remember when people were saying like, oh, Jason Momoa has a dad bod? Like, fuck you guys.
Yeah.
What
Can we switch? Like Jesus.
The fact that he might be playing Lobo and still having that body totally works. You don't have to do anything to him, you know?
Yeah.
And I think the same goes for any hero at that point. You have to just be careful with what you're doing. Is it cool to see a strong man, super buff, comic book accurate person on screen? Yes. But the whole reason for Hollywood magic is to hide some of that stuff and to, make sure that your actors and actresses are safe and are comfortable. And I think that's the best way to go about it.
Yeah, I think it was I think Kumail Nanjiani, I think his name. Everybody loved his body, right? Him and the dude from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia have both come out and said like, "Oh, you want that perfect body? You need money. Like you need somebody to be cooking your food, you need a trainer to be training you every like 3 times a day or whatever, blah blah blah." And if you ever want to figure that out, just go watch their interviews and they talk about how it's so ridiculous to get that kind of body. So yes, aesthetically I would want a superhero to look like a superhero. And that's been Vince McMahon's like mentality in WWE. He's like, I want my superstars to look like superheroes. And that's why they were all roided up in the early 90s and 80s and shit. And so, yeah, granted, I will say there are people out there that are natural. So it is possible that Jackman is doing that. I don't think The Rock is. A lot of people have said The Rock is straight up on steroids for his age and the way he's looking is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would think, just be careful of trying to do that kind of stuff because there are some people that are not natural and it's just gonna fuck you up mentally if you're like, why is my body not like theirs? Everybody's different, man.
So I just want to pull this up real quick. The fact that like everybody talks about like working out and roids and stuff. I don't think you remember this as a kid, but like they used to talk about roids as if it was like meth or cocaine. Like it was like the dangerous drug when it comes to like sports and stuff. And
it's always had a stigma, especially in baseball, because all the home runs were like, oh, they're roided up or whatever. And a lot of them were. I mean, 100%. And it was like in big, in football, people were like hitting harder and stuff like that. So, yeah, the thing is, when it comes to movie stars, roids aren't illegal. So, like,
I just in my mind, it's just like, where the fuck do you get steroids?
Yeah, I know. That's like,
that's the thing for me. Because again, when I say that they used to treat it like it was a hardcore drug, whenever you would see it in like a TV show or a movie, they would have it in like this zip up case and they'd be like, hey, look at this, So that's why in my mind, when everybody's like, oh yeah, they're all using steroids, I was like, how? Where do you get this?
Yeah.
Like, what? Like, who is your guy?
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous, but it is what it is, Anyways, let's move on to some more questions. We have some on the YouTubes, which I was reading some of these, and I felt like we got asked a lot of these the week before. I don't know why, but I was like, damn, I was like, is this video old? And then I looked at the date. I was like, no, this is last week. I don't know why. Maybe they got all done pretty early and I just read them, but I was freaking out about that. Anyways, Eduardo de la Cruz says, who would win? Deathstroke versus Grundy, Riddler versus Hugo Strange, Manbat versus Killer Croc. I'm going because Grundy's. I'm gonna go Grundy.
Dead is like Grundy's dead.
Yeah,
and he's like a Hulkling.
Yeah, he never stops. Like because you can knock him out and then he just comes back. He's born on a Monday. Like he's back.
I would go Grundy as well. I think that like Deathstroke probably does have, of course, the smarts and everything.
Yeah.
But if you're like, hey, you cannot stop fighting until one of y'all is dead.
Yeah.
Like for one, I think Deathstroke would be like, you fucker, he's already dead. Like, I'm not gonna win this fight.
It sucks if you kill him on a Tuesday because you have to wait till Monday for him to be reborn. You're just like, dude, what do I do for 5 days? Like, what the heck? Like, that would suck. But yeah, I would go Grundy there. Riddler over Hugo Strange, right? Like,
yes,
easy. Manbat versus Killer Croc. I'm going Croc. But Manbat has the aerial advantage.
Yeah, I was thinking the aerial advantage as well, but I think Croc has the pure strength.
Yeah. If he catches one of those wings, he's ripping it off.
That's exactly what I was thinking about as well. Like if he gets him on the ground, he's done for. So I'm gonna go Killer Croc on that one.
Yeah, I would go with that. Okay. Arwitz, who already talked in the thing, says Bradley Cooper could play a good Jonah Hex. Thoughts on that? I don't know if he's.
I don't know if Bradley
enough.
Cooper could do a Western. I've never seen him in a Western. Has he done a Western at all?
I don't think so. I mean, then again, there's a lot of Westerns that just go under the radar.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Because there wasn't Idris Elba in a Western recently, and I didn't even watch that.
Yes, he was. It was on a Netflix original. It was a Netflix original movie. Apparently it was really, really good.
Yeah.
I think I could probably see it, but again, like, I don't know if. Well, I will say this: if Colin Farrell did the makeup for Batman, I think Bradley Cooper would be fine with doing the makeup for Jonah Hex.
Yeah, I just don't know if could Bradley Cooper do a gritty cowboy voice. Because Jonah Hex kind of talks like this.
I think so. If we were back in the 70s and you gave freaking Clint Eastwood a Jonah Hex movie,
that'd be interesting. Yeah. He's still alive. Dude, really old
but
Jonah
he's
Hex.
90.
Hey, really old. Do you know he only does one takes on his films?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you watched that Matt Damon interview?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you just want to waste everybody's time? Like, so fucking Clint Eastwood. All right, we got Clay. Am I the only one who wants to see Catwoman as a villain again? Nowadays, from the start, she is on Batman's side. Seems more of a hero than an anti-hero. Besides burglary, what would make her show her villain side more? Interesting
So
comment.
I will be completely honest. We will talk more about Catwoman in, of course, our comic book reviews. But in my mind, as I was thinking, like as I was reading the book, my mind went to the idea that Juice always had. The best thing you can do for a Catwoman movie or a good story arc in Catwoman's story is a heist. You
Yeah.
just do a really good heist. You do like an Ocean's 9 or 11 or whatever it was, the prequel with all the females, and you make that into a Catwoman story. And in my mind, I'm like, well, what do you do after?
Yeah.
I think Catwoman is in a very weird stuck spot where like people just don't know what to do with her. And I don't want to just push her to the side piece of Batman for sure. I think that if you were to make a duo book that of I've actually heard, I haven't read it, but the revamp or the renumbering of Chip Zdarsky's Daredevil, since it's gone back to number 1, it hasn't been as good apparently. I think he's stretching himself too thin.
Yeah.
But
His
in that
Batman
book,
ain't good.
both Elektra and Daredevil are both Daredevils, and it's a duos book, and I think you could do that with Batman and Catwoman. Just like you had a Batman and Robin comic, you can do a Batman Catwoman comic.
Yeah.
I think that would be fine, but I just think Catwoman is stuck right now, and I would kind of like to see her as a villain, but again, where do you go? Like,
Yeah.
I just need to read that one story from whoever has a Catwoman story.
Yeah.
That's going to give me a little bit more faith that she has a brighter future in comic book stories.
Yeah, so I do agree. I kind of want to. I'm going to reference it now, but it kind of ties into Raphael's comment that he's going to have here in a little bit. Me and Raphael were actually talking about Catwoman recently in the Discord, and I forgot what the conversation was. Kind of talking about how she is like the opposite of Batman, but they kind of dwell really well together because she's constantly trying to do things for him. But she does have her side, she is her own person. She's very conflicted at times. She's kind of broken, kind of like he is, but he's very like, I stick to my morals, and she wants to be that, but at the same time, she knows like, I got to play by my own rules at times. Definitely just go read our conversation in Discord, because I'm definitely butchering it. But the one thing I will say is in that conversation, I brought up how Catwoman is kind of like Robin Hood at times. Like a lot of people, if you go back and read a very pre-52 Catwoman stuff, although people think she's a villain, she's always had a good side to her. Because if you want to go back and like, she's always tried to protect her sister and stuff like that, or she's got out of the family, like depending on what you want to read. I think DC's kind of gotten away from, oh, she was a prostitute. Like now they kind of like, she was in that area, but they don't really reference that she was a prostitute anymore. I think you could easily retcon that and being like, she pretended to be one and manipulated men and stuff like that and stole and all that kind of jazz. Like you could easily retcon that. And then she just protected the women that did get hurt.
Yeah, exactly.
And so she's always protected people. We even saw, even though Howard's run hasn't been good, but just as recently, we saw that one stripper get killed. And she was like, I got to get revenge for her. And she went and fucked up Black Mask or whatever. So she's always been somebody that protects people, but she protects people that nobody cares about, or she thinks nobody cares about. In previous Catwoman runs, which I don't want to say this is the Brubaker run, but I want to say it's probably in that era. Catwoman, I think, stole a lot of money, and then she opened like a safe haven in Gotham. And she like kept that open, and like she was like, yeah, I'm here to help people, and this is for where people can come if they feel like they don't have anything. And she's always taken over the Narrows, right? So like she's always been a good person. She just doesn't play by hero rules, right? Like she'll steal what she needs to, she does what she can, But I think over time, Selena just steals to steal because she can. Like, I don't think she's necessarily stealing because she needs it, or she's just like, I could do this. Like, I'm still good. I'm still whatever. Like, and she does it to get information, right? We know Batman's not perfect. Like, as much as you want to think Batman is playing by the rules, yes, he has his own morals and stuff like that and his own code, but he's breaking the law every night he goes out there. Like, let's not forget that. So, like, he's no different than Selena Kyle, you know? She's granted, she's stealing for personal gain. Batman's breaking the law to benefit people. But in the end, if they're both benefiting people, like, what's the deal? They're not Joker. They're not, Deathstroke. They're not anybody like that that's out there killing people for money or doing all those kind of things. So, I think Batman understands that. Like, he's like, this is just what she does. And that's why he's oftentimes went back and bought the things she stole, or he's like given money to the people she's stolen from or whatever. Like, he's covered her tracks and she knows that. And she's just like, ugh, you never let me do anything or blah, blah, blah. And they just have that back and forth banter. I wouldn't mind another team up book that isn't necessarily King's, like, I would like to see somebody else write them. Granted, people that have been writing them lately have not done it well. But yeah, if she was a villain again, the one thing that writers don't do is they don't tell past stories anymore. Why is that such a bad thing? You just put like before or whatever, just tell a flashback story. Yeah. And like, you can have Catwoman still be a hero, but like, have her meet up with Harley and Ivy and talk about their past crazy moments, like a girls' night. Like, oh, remember that time you stole all that money from so-and-so? Like, oh yeah, and then tell the story. Like, you could do those kind of things, but comic book writers never think that way for some reason. I will say, if you do want to read, I mean, it's not for Catwoman, but like a lot of the best Batman stories are in those black and white books. Like, some really good stories are in black and white. So yeah, maybe they should do that with Catwoman or like other characters. They did it with Wonder Woman. I don't know if they're that good.
Well, they did it with Harley. Remember the black, white, and red or whatever, or black, white, and bloody or whatever it was called.
I think it was black, white, and red. Yeah. That didn't go too long though. So I don't know if the story.
I think it only went like 6 issues.
Yeah. But then those are always like in series as well. So who knows? I would like to see more stories of Catwoman, but I don't think you need to get away. I don't think you need to make her a villain again, because that's kind of what everybody does, right? Like, King did it. Like, he made it start off like she was a villain. We saw Tynan try to do it. She went back and tried to do some villainy stuff. Like, I just don't think it works anymore because we've made her such a good guy. It's kind of like Red Hood always being good than being bad. It's like, all right, well, there's Red Hood doing Red Hood things again. So I think you just tell past stories. You can tell a bunch of stories about her past without having to make her a villain. So anyways, again, I should say. So Vasan says, Heartless is the inverse Bruce Wayne, to be honest. I guess it's ironic that Nightwing's biggest villain is Batman's worst parts. Do you understand this? He's saying the opposite of Bruce Wayne. So Heartless, in the name, would be evil. And so what, Bruce Wayne has a heart, so he cares?
I guess it's ironic that I don't really get it. No.
Because he's saying Nightwing's biggest villains is Batman's worst parts. Because if his biggest villain is Heartless, but it's Batman's worst part, is Batman's worst part his heart? Well, like, that's kind of how I'm reading it.
Kind of. I guess in the same vein of we're referencing a lot of things that we talked about last week, but in the same vein of how we talked about Nightwing being a better hero, from reverting to what Batman kind of taught him, or stepping back from what Batman taught him and doing his own thing, kind of in that same way. Like, a lot of people could call Batman heartless because of the methods that he uses, the things that he does. I kind of see where he's going with it. So, like, Heartless is in a way like Bruce Wayne / Batman because of not only his namesake being heartless, but some of the things that we clearly saw in his backstory are a little bit of a reverse of what Bruce Wayne was.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I guess. I think it's just kind of the wording is kind of throwing me off, but
Yeah,
I
same.
can see what you're saying. We got Metallica. If someone made a theme song for the podcast, what genre would you like? Did we not have this last week? I feel
I
like
don't think we did.
no. I feel like I've read this before, which is wild. But it is 6 days ago. Maybe I read this on that day. Moncray says alternative rock. If someone were to make a theme song for this podcast, one, I don't know if words would be in it. I don't know if that would work.
I don't think words would be in it also.
Yeah. I could see some kind of rock version working. I don't know if metal could work, but I don't know if that's really the best thing. I think you just need a cool, I don't know, man. It's weird. Like definitely like instrumental type. Because literally used the Batman 66 theme, and I just added news and weekly. Well, I guess we would have that. Batman News Weekly would be said in the intro. But I've always been like, some of my favorite music, man, or some of my favorite intros is WWE intros, and it's all rock.
Yeah.
Like, because like WWE does this thing where it's for the pop. Like it starts off with this like, and you're just like, oh shit, they're here. And then it goes into this really cool music. Stone Cold is whoosh,
yeah.
And you're like, oh shit. I'm going to Royal Rumble this weekend. If Stone Cold is in the Royal Rumble, I'm losing my shit. Because he's been training. Everybody thinks it's for WrestleMania. But if he comes out in San Antonio to fucking do the Royal Rumble, I'm gonna be like, oh shit. Like, I'm gonna freak out. So I'm excited for that. But yeah, I would think it'd have to be rock. Like, genuinely.
If you wanted to go that route, I would not be fighting it whatsoever. One thing that I do not like, and it kind of annoys me that so many podcasts do it.
Mm-hmm.
They do like kind of like the bubbly opening, you know, the very smooth, and it's like da, 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 and you kind of ease into it, and you're like, hi, this
you
is
don't want the
on this
campy,
podcast.
Campiness. I just like the 66 theme because it's classic, and I feel like it doesn't get enough praise, in my opinion. And it was just easy to add News Weekly to.
What I like about the 66 News Weekly that we use is it kind of has that pop that you want for the WWE opening or whatever.
Yeah.
Because it just like, it's so sometimes RIP headphone users sometimes.
Yeah.
Especially when I'm like, oh, let's pull up questions on YouTube, and I click on the video. If I don't put that mute button on fast enough or pause it fast enough, it destroys my eardrum.
I have not checked the audio on that. I've kept it original, because I switched over from editing on my Mac to my PC, so I don't know if the decibels are off. Let me know in the comment sections if it's too loud, y'all, because I'm just like, it's always been like that. So, but hey, when the podcast starts, I will say that. If you're like if you're listening on like Spotify or something, you're listening to something and it goes into ours, they're like, oh shit. Okay. So but yeah, I think something like that, WWE style, kind of like, I will agree with Clay. There are some podcasts that have their own intros made and I don't like them. Like, and it's also like, I think a lot of people try to copy the like animated series a lot too and try to make it their own. And it doesn't come out well.
Yeah.
Maybe like a rock version of the animated series would probably be way better. But I don't know. Maybe a rock version of 66 would be kind of cool too. Who knows? But yeah, I don't know. If anybody has a version of the intro you want to send to us to see, like, hey, I made this, like, I'd be down. I can't guarantee we'll use it, but if we like it, we'd be down. Because eventually we need to get rid of the 66 intro. Like, we need to. Because any day DC could be like, excuse me? And we're like, oh, sorry, we'll stop. Anyways, moving on. We have Nathan. Would you rather have an arc where Batman gets bit by a radioactive bat and becomes a bat-powered metahuman, or Batman switches lives / villains with a member of the Justice League?
I don't know why, but I feel like Batman switches lives with a villain or hero is something that has happened before. Don't know why I feel like that.
Well, you're probably thinking about Superman Bullet.
Oh,
whatever.
Speeding Bullet. Yeah. Great book, by the way.
Yeah. I have it
Go
sealed. I've never opened it. Like,
really.
yeah, I bought it at I don't know if I bought it at the comic shop or if I found it at a half price one day. And it's like
Nice.
it's in a cardboard. I've just like a bag and board. I've just
Mhm.
never opened it to read it. I'm just like,
Nice.
I'll read it online or something.
I would recommend that every so often you switch that bag and board though. Like it sucks, but all these comics behind me, like
Yeah.
within the next year, I have to switch all of those out.
Ooh. Why does it get stuck
Because
to it?
yeah, they'll
That
start to
sucks.
like fuse into the bag and board, and like the moment that you decide, hey, maybe these are worth something,
Yeah.
you try to take it out, completely destroyed.
Another reason to get rid of all my comics.
But Nathan, if you want to read this whole bat-powered metahuman as Batman, read the Stan Lee's version of
Yeah.
Batman. He is a Batman. He's basically Man Bat.
Yeah. He's basically
So
Spider-Man. That's what happens, right? Like, does he get bit by a
almost.
bat?
I don't know if he does or not.
Yeah.
I wanted to go back and actually buy the omnibus
Mm.
of Stan Lee's Justice League, but unfortunately, like
It's
I
so
had
Stan Lee too.
it is,
Yeah.
but I had it in my cart. One website that I was looking at it, and
Mhm.
like Stanley died. I was like, shit, I have to buy it.
Yeah.
And like as soon as I went over there, price had hiked immediately, and I was like,
Yeah.
God damn it, I can't buy it now.
That sounds what happened. That was kind of similar to I was thinking about dropping the like $300+ to do the meet and greet with Stan Lee at the convention that we have here in our city. And I was like, I could do it because we both had that job that paid pretty well at the time. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll do it. And then it had sold out, and then he died the next year. I was like, oh fuck. So that kind of sucks. Moving on to Raphael, this is the comment I was talking about. But to answer the question, yeah, I think both of these stories have been done, so I can read them. Like, so I don't know, I don't care for either, to be honest. Although Radioactive Bad just seems a little too campy for me.
Yeah.
So I'd probably read the other one. Like if Batman became Superman for a day, I'd be interested in that. But he's been Green Lantern before, and so many other. He just became Dr. Fate. Like it's happened. So
Yeah.
maybe I don't care for those stories. What do you think about Reddit as a place to talk / discuss about comics, since it allows the person to write and extend a little more about the topic in question, unlike Twitter? My personal opinion is that there are some takes that are interesting, but the vast majority end up being crap. I'm going to leave it soon. It's tiring, just like Twitter.
So Raphael and you are the only two individuals that I have like seen or heard actually spend a lot of time on Reddit.
Yeah.
The only time I jump to Reddit is via a hyperlink on Twitter. If there is a conversation that is stemming from Reddit, I'll go check it out.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily say, hey, I'm going to go look at Reddit for some stuff right now.
Mm-hmm.
And the majority of the reason why is what Raphael is saying. Like, there is a lot of crap on Twitter. Again, there has been some really great discussions via like on my Reddit boards. I follow like My Hero stuff, anime stuff, manga stuff, DC. I follow DCU leaks. Like I follow a whole bunch of stuff, and there's been really good discussions. But it is just like Twitter, a little bit of a cesspool.
Yeah.
So like I don't necessarily dive into there a whole bunch.
Yeah.
But how do you feel about it?
90% of my Reddit is spicy shit.
R34.
Yeah, it's R34, it's fucking porn, it's whatever. Like that's 90% of my Reddit. Because like it's, sometimes you just want a small dose. You don't want to go to the fucking find the 30-minute long video. I'm like, no, dude, just give me the good shit and I'm good. Like sometimes you just want to read the good panels of a comic book, right? Like you don't need the whole fucking thing. And so like that's 90% of my Reddit. I do follow I like random things like Kill the Cameraman, which is just like the cameraman always getting destroyed in videos. I follow stuff like fucking game physics when there's glitches in games. Love stuff like that. So I have a bunch of I use Reddit for that kind of stuff. But when it comes to comic book stuff, I only follow Batman subreddit and the Catwoman subreddit. And the reason why is because sometimes people post obscure things about those characters and I want to know. But more so on the Batman one, they do that. They're like, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Catwoman has just turned into hating the writers that write Catwoman right now because it's so trash. But I will say somebody talked about Catwoman and Batman recently in on Reddit. And I will agree with Raphael. Some of the takes are garbage. Somebody said that Catwoman and the Batman relationship make no sense because she's a villain and she does bad things, and that's against what Batman's into. So she makes no sense, and it's a shitty relationship, and they shouldn't be together. And I'm like, you've obviously never read anything they've been a part of because it goes so much deeper than what they both are. Again, Batman breaks the law every fucking night. So, like, that's not a thing. There's a reason why we talked about Sean Murphy last week. In his story, there was that whole thing about lawsuits or whatever because Batman was technically breaking the law when they found out or whatever. And they're like, oh, all of his stuff everybody should be let out. I'm pretty sure that was part of his story.
Yeah.
Because like he's a vigilante. So like Batman's not, his hands aren't clean when it comes to being a criminal. He just does it for better reasons than other criminals. But to say that Catwoman and Batman shouldn't be a thing or that they're bad, like it's a bad relationship, I think is dumb. Because then who is he going to be with? Does he have to be with Zatanna? Like, does he have to be with Black Canary? Is a Wonder Woman? Like, I think people, and this is a fair opinion, people are kind of tired of Catwoman maybe, but they've never been fully explored. Like, I don't understand how you're tired of something that's not been fully explored. I still think, and I said this on a podcast, I think there's a lot of men that read Batman and they pretend that they're Batman. And I've done this in books. Like I pretend I'm the main protagonist or whatever when I'm reading or watching or whatever in video games. That's how I make my decisions on decision-based games. And I think some people read Batman and they just wouldn't want to be tied down to one person, which I think is really dumb. And they're like, I want Batman fucking all the characters. And I think it's just a dumb thing. But for the most part, I do think Reddit has a lot of dumb takes. So does Twitter. I think 90% of comic book takes are garbage. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, remember that one TikTok we saw of that guy who was talking about like getting into comics? He was like, unfortunately, he was 90% of comics right now are fucking trash. And he was like, that's why like nobody, you can, if you go and you pick up comics and you're reading the book and you're like, it's kind of boring or kind of sucks. That sucks because you might have just lost a comic book reader because of a lot of the books right now are garbage.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate. That's why everybody's like, oh, I want to get into Batman. I'm like, oh, dude, first read Hush, then read this. They like you give them all the good ones so they can understand that there's going to be highs and lows in comics. And so, yeah, I mean, me and Clay have definitely talked offline about people and their bad takes. So it's just kind of, I mean, I think it is very smart, especially if you are somebody that is concerned about your mental health and you read all this stuff and you're just tired of it. Just get off of it, mute people, block people. It's okay. Let them think they won, that you blocked them or whatever. Like if they get satisfaction from that, they are sad. Like you need to understand that and just like leave it alone. Your mental health comes first. Let them think whatever they want because people are going to have bad opinions all the fucking time. It's never going to go away. There's always going to be bad takes. People probably think our takes are bad, and that's fine. I don't care. We don't care. This podcast is for us to just share our opinions. We don't want you to. You don't need to agree with us. So yeah, I can definitely see why you would leave Reddit. I've left Twitter for the exact reason. I think a lot of people have bad takes, but it is what it is. And just people are dumb. Like it's just I don't like when you get. I will say Reddit does a lot better of not feeding you stuff you don't want. Twitter feeds you everything. I am tired of the Snyder shit. But just because I look for DCU, I get all the Snyder stuff. I'm like, I don't want this Twitter. I don't want this. Reddit doesn't do that. Reddit, whatever you follow, that's what you get.
I mean, something that me and you have both experienced. Recently, Twitter has given us nothing but bots. But,
all the time. So that's what I think. I think if you're going to stay on social media, just use that block and mute button so you don't see a lot of that stuff. It's what I do. And just go on with your day. Because I think every once in a while, there are good discussions. So, or you can join Discord. I feel like Discord is pretty decent. Anyways, Jason Todd, what route is likely next for the Batman games? How could we make it good as Arkham, but also something new?
Battle Pass. No.
I mean, you would have thought Suicide Squad would have been the next thing. Like,
it's freaking wild, man. It hurts me. It hurts me so much to think that the next DC game is going to be, well, actually, I don't know if that's the next DC game, because there is somebody that I follow on TikTok. He's a random English teacher. He wrote the next Justice League game that's coming out. It's like Chibi. Like, I don't know if you remember.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's like Coven of Chaos or like something like that. It's a very kid-friendly game, but it's a game that adults can play too.
Yeah.
It's coming on Switch, PlayStation, Xbox. That looks like fun. And it looks like fun because it's just one story that you can play, like couch co-op.
Yeah.
Justice League characters, and it looks like it's gonna be a lot of fun. I don't know what the next step is for a Batman game, because we got what we had in the Arkham games. I'll be completely honest. Yesterday, on Steam, well, it's not on Steam directly. It was from a third-party website that I was able to purchase it via Steam. Arkham Origins was less than $4. On PC, and I was like, I'm fucking buying it.
Yeah.
And I think I'm gonna play it soon.
Record it because we need. Oh no, we already did that. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure. Or we're doing it right now.
No, Arkham. Yeah, we're doing Arkham Knight right now. We're not
Yeah.
Arkham Origins.
No, Arkham Knight's already done. We've done Arkham Origins too. I think we're on Asylum.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
But we like, I just don't know. I don't know what do you think out of all the genres of gaming, right? So very popular right now. I know you're probably not going to watch it until it's completely done. But very popular right now is The Last of Us.
Yeah.
Like, do you want a heavy story-driven game when it comes to Batman? Do you want just like a beat 'em up for Batman? Like, what do you want?
Story-driven is always the best, I think, in any video game. Unless you want a game that you can play daily, which is like a Genshin Impact or something like that. Like if you are maybe like a routine person, dude, I used to come home. I mean, you were part of it a little bit. Like we'd come home, play Apex, or we would do Odyssey all those times, right?
All
like,
those missions.
Yeah, playing
Jesus.
Odyssey. I love games that you can get lost in like that too. So like the Assassin's Creed games are some of my favorite because they're expansive, right? I love expansive games that you can like do new things and just like stumble upon like little random missions. I would love something like that. I mean, Batman was kind of like that, but can you imagine Batman, but like with the map as big as Red Dead? Like, that's crazy. So something like that would be kind of cool. But you know what? The one thing I want a different fighting system from Batman. Maybe something not so like he can fly from one end of the screen to the other end of the screen in a one flip. You know what I mean? Like, as much as I love the beat 'em up of Arkham's, it is kind of random and weird. I love the fighting in Assassin's Creed. Like in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, where you can fight, like if you're good enough, you can fight like 5 people at once. Like I thought that was awesome. But it wasn't like I'm flying over here and then I'm grappling over here. You know what I mean? So I would like a new thing. I saw somebody mod that game Sinfu or Sufu or whatever.
Oh, Saifu. Yeah,
Saifu. They modded it to be Robert Pattinson's Batman. And they do like this hallway scene and it's just like badass kung fu fighting, like knocking people out and it looks like Batman. I'm like, that looks awesome.
Yeah.
But it's not over the top. He's not flying around doing crazy stuff. So maybe a different fighting system with a nice Batman story. Cause like, maybe like what if like Naughty Dog did Batman?
Well, that's what I was thinking because of how popular it is. Last of Us, it's very story driven. And I don't know if you knew this, but the entire reason why they remade Part 1 for PS5
Mm-hmm.
wasn't to just put the game on PS5. They literally said to outlets, we didn't have any games scheduled to come out.
Yeah.
So why not just make another remaster of the game our bestseller? And in my mind, like, I don't know if you remember the old Punisher game
Mm-hmm.
for PlayStation and Xbox.
I think so.
It was like one of the most goriest, like, rated mature games possible.
Yeah.
Because like you can interrogate people and like literally just dismember them. And it was intense. And I'm just like, what if Naughty Dog did a Punisher game? That would be freaking
Yeah.
awesome. But I was kind of thinking at the same time, what if Naughty Dog did a Batman game?
Yeah. Yeah, I think a little bit more realistic fighting might be interesting. It's funny that I say it in a video game and I don't want it in the movies.
Movie.
But I think it's because I've gotten it in video games. You know what I mean? So like I'd be curious on how, like, I don't know. I feel like when I was playing the Arkham games, I could always get out of any situation, right? In Last of Us, if you don't play that game right, you get fucked up and you die.
Yeah.
So I would want to be in that situation when it comes to a superhero game. And I think you can only do, well, you know what? Maybe Green Arrow would be better for that kind of game. Because he does arrows. Last of Us doing a Green Arrow game might be better than Batman. So, but their storytelling is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I believe they're working on Last of Us 3 now, which is interesting.
It's funny that you say that because there is a quote from the developers of Naughty Dog. They said, specifically Neil Druckmann says, the studio has moved on from the Uncharted series and could do the same with The Last of Us, should it decide not to proceed with a third mainline series entry.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't know this, but Naughty Dog is working on a multiplayer game that is within the Last of Us universe.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is to jump on the bandwagon of battle passes and free to play and all of that stuff. So that way they could possibly fund their next project. But there has been a lot of rumors of Last of Us 3 being in development.
Yeah, I hope so. But you could easily end it with the way 2 ended. So yeah, it'd be very interesting to see where they go. But yeah, I don't know. I think we've said enough about that. So moving on, Alexis Barrera, would you rather see a story where there's a Yellow Lantern Scarecrow or a Zaz with Speed Force?
Yellow Lantern Scarecrow has happened before. Via Blackest Night. It was so weird because like he had like an inkling that something was gonna go down, and then all of a sudden a Yellow Lantern ring just like showed up, and he's like, yes, I want the fear. And he did some crazy shit with it. So I recommend going to read Blackest Night. Zad with Speed Force sounds absolutely fucking terrifying.
That is a one shot, and like I would read it. And maybe it's not even a one shot; it's like an 8-page story, because Zaz would just Speed Force kill everybody, and then he would end up chopping himself up because he'd kill so many people.
But here's the problem, though. I think yes, he would heal. He would heal super fast, so he would like cut himself. And then he would heal, and then he would cut. Like he would be in so distraught over not being able to mark himself.
Yeah,
like I think that would be interesting. But like, I think the more interesting thing would be like Batman seeing.
But here's the thing: he could kill a bunch of people and then heal, and then be like, "I got to do it again," and then kill more people and be like, "I got to do it again," and he's like, "Just keep going."
Well, and that's what I mean. Like Batman would, of course, get like the notification for like all of these like deaths that are happening super quickly, and he's immediately like, "Flash, this is your territory. This is clearly a speedster. Where's Reverse Flash? Why is he doing all this?" And like, I think it would then be a team up book between Flash and Batman. And then finding out that it's Zaz, I think like the ending panel is legit. Like he's like finding out that he can't cut himself. Like, I think that's the end panel.
Yeah. He should be like, I gotta go deeper. And then he ends up cutting his arm off or something like that. That'd be crazy.
Christ,
just going like all the way down to the bone.
Go the artery or something.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, that'd be crazy. What if a speedster got their artery cut? Huh. Because, like,
I didn't
I
think
mean,
about that.
yeah, in real life, your artery, like, you die fast.
You bleed out. Like,
Yeah. So would a speedster heal that fast? I'm curious.
that's an interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Interesting
know.
thought. Sound off in the comments. Last comment, Moncray. I think Batman should start using his villains' weapons for good. Which of these would you like to use in a fight? Used in a fight crime to fight crime in comics? Mind control hat / cowl, fear toxin, non-lethal laughing gas, or freeze ray. I think only one of these is right.
The freeze ray.
Yes. Because the reason why all of those other things control people or affect people, and I don't think Batman would be okay with that.
Yeah, I don't think there. I can't remember what I was watching or what I was doing. But there was oh shit, I feel like I've watched it like several times because it but there's a scenario of like being able to like manipulate minds.
Yeah.
And I think it was something having to do with like Star Wars.
Mhm.
And somebody just didn't know exactly how the Force worked, and a Jedi was like, we don't manipulate people like
Yeah.
that. Like even manipulating them to do good is still manipulation, and it's not
Mhm.
okay. I think that's the same way Batman would see things. Is
Yeah.
like people have free will, and they need to choose that free will to do good or bad.
Yeah.
Whether the consequences of my actions are whatever, it's their choice. Fear toxin, I don't know how you use that in a good way.
Yeah.
I know that you could possibly use it against villains, but it's just like you're lowering yourself as far as what Scarecrow would do. And
Yeah.
I don't think Batman would do that either. Non-lethal laughing gas.
That's what they use
I
at the dentist.
I
So,
think
like,
it's too much PTSD for
yeah.
Batman, I think,
Yeah.
in that instance. And then a freeze ray, I think, would actually work out a whole bunch. And I think it's stuff that Batman would actually use. He uses lasers to like melt things. Why wouldn't
Mhm.
he use a freeze ray to freeze things?
Yeah. Put out fires, freeze bombs, all that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that would be the only thing he uses. Also, Moncray, I was streaming yesterday, and you showed up, and I didn't see the chat, and I ignored everybody in the YouTube chat. I apologize. I just didn't see it. All right, going on from that, ladies and gentlemen, we are diving into our new segment of what I don't want to say of the week, but it'll happen every so often.
It'll
And Clay's
happen
gonna
at
take
the
this.
it'll
Yeah.
happen at the end of every single month, with the inclusion of us getting a whole new year of comics via DC. Thank you guys. We want to talk about more of these comics, and of course stuff that we could possibly be excited about in the future. So I was looking at DC Connect, which is the monthly magazine that DC publishes
Mhm.
to show you the previews. So of course, if you go to any comic book shop ever, there's this giant magazine that looks so super thick. It's called the Comics Previews, and it shows you everything that you can pre-order 2 months in advance. Well, since DC moved away from the Diamond distributor, they have made their own magazine called DC Connect. So this is issue 32. It is January's DC Connect, and it is for books that will be coming out in March. So everything that we're going to be talking about does come out in March. So let me actually, via the system that we're using so that Juice can see what we're talking about here.
Oh,
We're going to be
nice.
talking about the DC Connect future books of March, specifically Batman, because this is, of course, a Batman podcast. So first up, we have Tom Taylor's One Bad Day for Ra's al Ghul. Number 1 is
He
coming
looks like
out.
Lobo there.
It's so weird. I
Yeah.
kind of saw like the wrinkles of the forehead and everything,
Yeah.
and just the way his skull is shaped here. He does look a little bit like Lobo. Um, of course, this is Ivan Reyes who is going to be doing art. I love the art. We have been
Yeah, it looks
hit
dope.
and miss with the One Bad Days.
Yeah.
Um, Tom Taylor as a whole has been a hit and a miss for Juice in regards to his storytelling,
Yeah.
specifically Dick Grayson's sister. So we'll see how this goes. I think the art will sell most people when it
Yeah, it looks
comes
great.
to this book, and I think it'll definitely be a book that a lot of people will jump on. Next up, we have, of course, the Chip Zdarsky run of Batman, issue number 133.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Well, actually, we don't have this available to us yet, but I
No.
know Juice has probably read 132.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll talk about it
we
eventually.
will we
I
will
will say
talk about it.
the art on this book for 133, it has Batman digging his own grave or digging Bruce Wayne's grave up, and Alfred has a sword in the background. So,
Yeah.
interesting.
So, it says here, meet Gotham's new savior. Um, it's really weird because there was a clickbaity article that I believe Raphael put in the Discord. Um, that like Chip, it was a quote from Chip basically saying that like uh this new Gotham is the best thing that Bruce Wayne could have stumbled upon or whatever.
Yeah.
And I had a wild theory, and I
Mhm.
want to run it by you. So, what if, because we see recently that Tom Taylor is going, it's not going to be a part of this DC Connect, it's going to be a part of, I believe, uh either the next DC Connect or the one after that. But in May, we will see a Titans title coming out with Tom Taylor, and they are basically taking over the Justice League. And
Yeah.
in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, with Cyborg getting his own comic, Wally West Flash already having his own comic, Nightwing having his own comic, it looks like the Titans are going to have all their own books. So that means either Donna Troy is going to take over the Wonder Woman comic,
Mhm.
or she's going to get her own title in the future. So the Justice League that we know could be sitting a little bit on the sidelines, even though this year we know they are going to be leaning heavily on the Superman stuff. They're doing a whole bunch of Superman family stuff,
Yeah.
um, which is a part of this DC Connect. So if you are interested in those, I'm actually going to be doing a small series on my TikTok about the stuff that I am most anticipated for future months within this year. It'll go alongside this as a co-companion. So go check out my TikTok.
Yeah.
But my theory is, and I haven't read any solicitations past this or anything, so I don't know. I don't know any discussions or whatnot. What if Chip decides to stay in this universe just so that way he could tell his own story and not affect the rest of the quote unquote DCU? And
Ugh.
that way he can do whatever he wants because it won't interfere with quote unquote in canon Earth One superhero stuff.
That sounds awful.
I don't like it.
Interesting theory though. It doesn't like that's a way to get around stuff. I will say that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
But here's the thing. I don't like these stories necessarily because, like, if you really want to start fucking with time and stuff, are they happening at the exact same time? So Bruce is going to be getting older, and when he goes back to the other universe, it's just like, oh, you've been gone for a year or whatever. Like, what happened in that year? Are we going to find out? Like, are we going to know? Like,
Well, we're gonna know via the books that we're reading outside of Batman. I know you don't read a whole bunch outside of Batman, but
well, Nightwing, Batman's still there.
that's
So
true. That's true. This
the timelines and continuities are dumb. Same thing in Catwoman. Batman's still there.
and that was something that I wanted to bring up because I did bring it up in the Discord. The
Mm-hmm.
fact that like I saw on Twitter somebody saying that right now is actually a really hard time for somebody to get into comics because of the wonkiness of how people play with the timeline.
Yeah.
Um because Batman is supposed to be on a different Earth, but he is with Nightwing. But at the exact same time, where else was he? There was another book that he was doing something completely different as well. I can't remember what exactly I threw out there in the Discord, but
Mhm.
in 3 or 4 different books, he's in 3 different places all at once.
Yeah.
And it really confuses the person. Now, again, somebody who is just getting into comics can literally just read these books as stories, not necessarily as a connective universe, and they don't know, like, oh, this is all taking apart around the same time, so it's not possible for someone to be in different places all at once.
Mhm.
Like, somebody could clearly take that out of the notion, but as we as fans, we know this is a connective universe, so like we're going to ask those questions. Where does this fit in within the continuity and stuff
Yeah.
like that? It was just a random thought that I had for Chip to kind of move away from the criticism of like, oh, this Batman doesn't fit. Oh, this is so weird for him to be doing this while other things are happening within the universe. So it would be kind of crazy if he decides to stay in this new Gotham for a little bit.
Yeah. I've read 132, and we'll talk about it eventually. That's all I'm gonna say. So
Um, of course, we did drop this book, and unfortunately, I haven't heard great things about it since we dropped it.
nope.
Detective Comics 1070 is out in March. I do dig this cover. It shows, of course, Barbara uh, on her computer in her master chair. Uh, but yeah, this is, of course, a book that we will not be talking about. I think that we have kind of been burnt out on Ram V's like long form storytelling
Yeah.
because he is making it a little too long. He's not he's wanting to introduce too much new things that are way out there for Batman.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a bunch of new characters with an old character around Two-Face. Then he's trying to tell a bunch of stuff about the mythos. There's not a lot of action in it that I remember. And how is Barbara here when the last time we saw her was she was being Cerebro
Yeah. And
for
right here on the
yeah.
cover, or at least where it's showing on the cover here, it
Yeah.
does say new character alert.
Yeah.
So they are really wanting to get people to pre-order this, to purchase this book, because of course collectors love those new characters whenever it
Yeah.
comes out. So we'll see how and if this book at all starts to make noise. As of right now, it's not.
Yeah.
Again, another book
Ugh,
that we
yeah.
have dropped. I thought this was only 3 issues, but it's actually 7. So this is going for another. I think the third one just dropped recently.
Yeah.
So it still has another 4 issues to go. Of course, I'm talking about Batman and the Joker Deadly Duo number 5 is coming out in March. I believe the date is March 7th of 2023. Not too much to say about this. It has just looked weirder and weirder with every cover that I see with this book.
Yeah.
And then we have the Harley Quinn Multiversity. Harley screws up the DCU number 1. This is kind of a play on that of Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe.
Uh
So I think this will be like a fun little like gag book. Don't know if we will read it. Um, I'll probably look at some preview pages in the future, see if it's going to be something that is going to be worth it. This is going to be written by Frank Thierry, uh, art by Logan Fair. What is that? Fairbearer, and then of course the art is Amanda Connor. Very
yeah.
classic for Harley Quinn. And then to end, I believe the Batman segment of this DC Connect is Harley Quinn number 28. It looks like it is veering away from its older interior artists. This one is going to be uh, Sweeney Boo. I've never heard of them. It looks great.
Yeah, art looks dope. I don't
Yeah,
know about the cover, but the art inside the book looks dope.
yeah. This looks pretty cool. There is also a Dan Mora cover, a
Is that
1
the
out of
gesture one?
25. Yeah.
Yeah, the gesture one looks fire.
So that's probably one that I'm going to be looking forward to. but yeah, there's some books that we're looking forward to in March, some that we are not. Of course, we will be talking about a majority of them every single time that you are listening to Batman News Weekly. But that is goes with this segment. I will say there is some honorable mentions in here for Batman related stuff. There is Waller versus Wildstorm. This is going to be basically the Suicide Squad versus Firestorm. Deathstroke is going to be involved. We also, of course, have Batman Superman number 13 coming out in March right here. Of course, Batman Incorporated, a book that we are not reading. The facsimile of Batman 357 is coming out. That is a facsimile, is just a reprint. This is, of course, the first appearance of Jason Todd, if people want to purchase that. Of course, reprints aren't as valuable as the originals, but it does give you the opportunity to have it in print, which I think is always cool. Batman, the Adventures Continues season 3, number 3, of course, comes out as well. A book that we have been enjoying so far. Blue Beetle Graduation Day, number 5, comes out in March, as well as Dark Knights of Steel, number 10.
Yeah.
And I believe the finale of Gotham City Year 1 also comes out in March. So something else to look forward to.
It's only 6 issues?
I believe it's only 6 issues.
I mean, I don't remember. I mean, I know he does miniseries now. I just don't know if that was...
So right here in very small print, it does say 6 of 6.
Yeah, we have 5. I haven't read it yet. So I'm excited to check that out. It's also Justice Society. Yeah.
Justice Society number 5 comes out as well. And I believe Nightwing 102 might be the last one that is really on our list of things to read.
Is what's his name staying on it? Tom Taylor?
Let's actually take a look. Tom Taylor.
Titans.
Yep, written by Tom Taylor.
Oh, all right. Nice. Coolio. Well, let's move on to comics now. We will bring that back in the future to let you guys know about some cooler stuff. That is a first-time segment, so we will get that going again in the future. But let's move on to the one book that I feel like people are going to be a little divisive on. That is Human Target, number 11. So what did you think about this book?
I was a little disappointed by this issue 11.
Oh, okay.
The reason being, kind of the way that I kind of predicted it in the last time we talked about this book, in the sense of, like, I said it might be your little stereotypical, like, Bond girl gone bad, you know, and usually with issue 11s, that last page is like, oh shit, what's gonna happen next? And it does have that a little bit, but I'm not really concerned over Chance's life. It's really weird because it's in a weird, you're in a weird position of, he's gonna die anyway.
Yeah.
So if he gets shot here, so what? Again, there is a very good chance.
Not Chance, if she gets shot, because he's putting the gun to her head.
Yes, she's putting the gun to her head. That's right.
He's putting the gun to her head.
Yeah. Well, she basically forced him to. That's the big thing. But, like, in my mind, I'm just like, is it really gonna happen? You know?
Yeah, I get that.
And it's not that big of like a, oh my gosh, because we have seen their relationship, and I think King was really wanting us as readers to, like, just fall in love with them and just be like, oh no, don't do it, don't do it. And I kind of get that, but I don't really feel anything at the end of this. There wasn't that big, like, aha moment.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, compared to some of the other stuff, I will still say this is one of his better series, like, all around. I that's why I said I think this will be very divisive for some people, because a lot of people are like, oh, I saw that coming. Like, that's going to be definitely a big thing. I have been reading this book as, oh, this is Tom King writing his own version of a noir story. And for anybody that's ever read noir stories or watched old school detective shows, it's always the pretty girl. The pretty girl is always the villain, or she's always the one that is the plot twist. So I totally see her piece where some people are like, oh, this is whatever. Like I saw it coming. And you're right. I think it is something that we all guessed. But even though I knew it, I can't sit here and say the ride wasn't good. You know what I mean? Like, I thought this book was awesome. The way every issue was ending, I was like, oh, this is awesome. This is great. And even here, I would bet 99.9% that she's not dead. He doesn't shoot her, right? He probably shoots next to her. Maybe she gets some ringing in her ear. Like, she gets maybe some permanent ear damage or something. I don't know. But this is Tom King. And it is possible that she does die. There's that 0.1% that she dies. I don't think it's going to happen. But it would just be more tragic that way, right? Like, he fell in love with this girl over the 12 days. He doesn't want to do this. But it's just like, you're the reason I'm dead. Like, you're the reason I'm not going to live anymore. Maybe we should die together. You know what I mean?
See, and that's why I think it would be a little weird. We know that Chase is not a great person.
Yeah.
But he's also not the villain.
Yeah.
You know? And so I think it would be very weird to be like, oh, well, you killed me. Boom, you're dead.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, it's everybody's different when they meet their maker, right? Like, I think we've talked about it, like how I think it's why Batman is so admired, right? Because some people would say he's stupid. But I think it's because those people that say he's stupid, that he honors his moral code, is because, like, if somebody did that to my family, I'd kill them. I'm like, that's why he's so admirable, because he doesn't do it. All of us would pull the trigger if somebody killed our family and we had the chance to kill them, right? Like, I think a lot of us would. It takes a stronger person not to pull the trigger, and that's Batman. Again, we've seen King change these characters. We've seen King put a different spin on them, and I think that's what makes them interesting. And so for Chase to pull the trigger on somebody he loves, I think that's somewhat interesting. Now, that's just my perspective, because I like different stories like that. A lot of people love Breaking Bad. I didn't really like the ending of Breaking Bad, personally.
Really? Yeah.
So spoilers for anybody that hasn't seen Breaking Bad. It's been out forever. This is on you at this point. But I'm still going to say spoiler
the premiere
tags.
They did say recently, I think it's 15 years old since the premiere, not since the ending, but since the premiere. It's been 15 years.
7 years, 8 years, like since the ending. On you at this point. But if you don't want to hear spoilers, jump ahead like 5 minutes or something like that. The one thing I didn't like is Walter White became this ridiculously crazy guy, right? And then
he's the villain.
Yeah. But they made him good at the end by redeeming all of this stuff. The way I was viewing it is, when I was watching that show, he had cancer, right? I felt Walter White was becoming the cancer. He was becoming the bad person in the show when he started off being the good person. And that's what cancer does, right? It destroys people. And so at the end, I wanted him to go full-blown cancer. I wanted him to kill everybody. I wanted him to be the reason that everybody that around him died. His wife deserved to die in that show. Fuck that bitch. She deserved to die. She needed to. Hated that. Like, everybody that started turning on him, I wanted them all gone. But then he became oh, he did the right thing at the end. He took care of his family. He took care of fucking, Pinkman. I didn't like that. I'm not saying it's not a good show. I'm not saying it's not a great show. It is a great show. I just didn't really, I don't know. I hate when the bad guy always becomes the good guy at the end just to have a happy ending. You know? It's one of the reasons why I hate the whole Thanos arc too. Like, I think trying to make Thanos fucking relatable. I was like, he's a fucking villain, dude. Like,
I hate the whole trope recently.
Yeah.
And it has been a very recent trope. People just don't like to be the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
There is no villains anymore. And I'm just like, that. I don't know if it's just because, like, there's this mentality of like, oh, people go through enough hard stuff. Like, we don't need bad people in our lives and blah, blah.
Yeah.
I'm like, there is villains all over this world.
Yeah.
Like, there should be villains in stories as well.
Yeah. And it's just because you like the bad character doesn't necessarily mean you're a bad person, right? I think it's intriguing if you do like a bad character, But a lot of people love the Joker, but we don't like. I love the Joker, but I'm not out here being like, oh yeah, I would do what the Joker does. I'm like, no, I know that's fucked up, but I think he's an intriguing character, you know.
Yeah.
And so, like, I don't think you need to make every villain a good guy at the end of a series, you know? So that was my one issue. And I'm pretty sure people are like, what? You didn't like the ending of Break? Because, you know, it's one of those shows. But I just didn't like the ending. It's still a great show, still fucking phenomenal. But yeah, I didn't like that. And so I don't mind a story like this, right? I don't mind the good guy becoming a bad guy. I don't, or
Yeah.
like, and it's because it comes down to human emotion, right? Like, why does the good guy always have to make the right decision? It's more human when they make a wrong decision, you know?
Yeah.
Granted, you can make the argument that Superman should always be this, Batman should always be this. I'm fine with those arguments because those characters are iconic. Their stuff has been solidified, like the no-kill rule, that's been solidified. I'm fine with that sticking around. But again, these other characters that a lot of people that don't get the spotlight, like a Batman or a Superman, I don't mind them being changed if you're making them more interesting for today. And again, it's comics. You can retcon it in a month, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's not that important. Granted, we do bitch and complain about what's going on in the Batman books, but because we think it's just bad. Like, it's not enjoyable to read. And if you feel that with this book, drop it. It's fine. Like, you know, we would have dropped Batman, but it's just so, like, it's the main title. We have to cover it.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I don't know. So I totally get the dislike a lot of people might have for this book, because mainly this whole book was just kind of him and her talking. Like, they had the moments, like they're in the ocean, you know, on the ice island and all that kind of jazz. And she's just kind of trying to get him to hate her. And she's like, you know, it's me. Like, I'm the reason you're dying. Like, just fucking kill me. You know what I mean? And so it comes down to that classic, like, lover quarrel. Like, is this going to happen? You know, kind of thing. But from my perspective, even though I kind of like saw this coming with the whole thing, I enjoyed the ride. But I don't think, I'm interested to see what happens, just because I know that there's that 0.0% chance that she could die. And if there's a panel where she's on the beach with a bullet in her head, that's going to be wild. It's not going to happen, but that would be awesome. But yeah, I totally get why there's a lot of people that probably don't like this. But moving on from this book, let's go on to, should we end with Catwoman or should we end with Justice Society? They both involve Catwoman.
I think it's hard because I think both have really good talking points.
Yeah.
But I think the quicker conversation would be Justice Society. So let's leave Catwoman for last.
All right, cool. Thoughts on this book?
Justice Society, I really enjoyed it. There's still some things that I feel like are like, what the hell is going on?
Mm-hmm.
Just because Johns is writing it in a way that, like, there's so many twists and turns literally within the book.
Yeah.
To make you confused and to want you to be intrigued to want to read the next issue. I think it works very, very well. The way that Dr. Fate is connected to every single one of his reiterations, I think, is a very interesting concept.
Mm.
And makes me think that, like, Huntress is not the main character of this story.
Yeah.
That it is Dr. Fate. But I'm interested to read more. I'm usually somebody who hates the changing of artists throughout a story.
Mm-hmm.
I think this does fit, though. And I actually really enjoy it.
I think it always fits when there's different eras for an artist to change.
Yeah.
But you can't go from Clayman to Liam Sharp. Like, it's just too drastic, okay? They got to be somewhat similar. But no, this book was really cool. We're learning more about, I guess, the Stranger is his name still. We learned a little bit of, like, old Selena kind of talking about it. We know Selena Kyle comes back to, you know, try to save her daughter, ends up dying, which is kind of crazy. And we see the tombstones of Bruce Wayne and Selena Kyle, beloved mother, beloved father. And then we see, like, Huntress falling through time again, which I thought was kind of cool. I think this is an interesting way to tell the time story, is her just falling through time, right? It's kind of like that guy, the savior, when he was falling through time. So I thought that was kind of cool. But the one thing that's weird is is this continuity? Or is it happening on another Earth? That's what I want to know.
That was a good question for us because of the fact that Batman is fucking dead. You know, is this saying that currently Batman is dead because currently Batman is on a different Earth? Currently, Batman is hugging Nightwing. Currently, there's so many different things going on with Batman. It's hard to tell where this is really supposed to be held. Whether it be on Prime Earth, Earth 1, Earth whatever, I'm very confused. And if somebody could clear that up, please let us know.
Yeah, because also it doesn't help that Mark Waid is using Dr. Fate a lot. You know?
Oh, that was the other thing. Mark Waid is using Batman in Lazarus stuff.
Oh yeah, he's like a demon now.
Yeah.
He hasn't been in any of the other books. So
No.
I don't know what's happening there because I've been flipping through them. But yeah, I think this is a good story. I'm curious on where it's gonna go. Because I'm enjoying it. I mean, John's always knocks it out of the park. I love how he just gets it, man. Like connecting stories, like he just knows how to do them really well. Where other people try to do it, like we saw with Williamson last week when he, like the Venom, we talked about it for a long time. Like he tried to incorporate these older stories and it just wasn't done well. And like the way he's jumping through like characters from different eras, I think is pretty cool. So I'm excited. If you guys are not reading Justice Society of America, I highly, highly suggest it. It's only 2 issues in, so you can definitely jump on there, which is nice. But let's move on to the final book of the week. Dude, like Twitter is saying that this is like their saving grace. They're like, oh my God, we might have Catwoman 51 this week, but at least we have Catwoman One Bad Day. And like this book, people are praising it so much just because the Catwoman run is so bad. And it's nuts. But this book, I think, was just okay. I don't know how you feel about it.
It was just okay. I think it was way too long, for one. I think the writing could have done a little bit of a better job. Of course, this is G. Willow Wilson. We haven't loved a lot of the stuff that she has done via DC. She joined DC with doing a Wonder Woman run. A lot of people did not like that. People are really praising her Poison Ivy though. So when she is on this, the one thing that I do not like about this book is the way Catwoman is talking to the reader.
It doesn't sound like Selena at all in this book, or Batman. No. Batman's dialogue is bad in this book.
It's just really, really awkward.
Yeah.
And like Selena is literally talking to us. It's like, oh, don't give me that look. And she is looking directly at the reader.
Yeah.
It's just like, why? What is going on here? Like, when it's internal monologue, you're usually the character is talking to themselves.
Yeah.
Or as Batman does, he is writing in his black books, hopefully for either new iteration of Batman or to one of the Robins or whatever, and so here it felt very off. The story of like the brooch, like I didn't really get it because like, oh, it's a fake. No, it's not. Well, actually, it is, and we just sold it as a real thing. Like it was getting too convoluted in my mind. And this woman that Selena ends up fighting, we see her literally in the panel before, with this guy. And she like runs away and is like telling this dude, we have to leave now. It's literally the same person. Like, and she just comes back with like different color hair.
Yeah.
It's so weird. Like I the choices in this book were very, very odd to me. I know that like it's supposed to be like a sentimental thing with Catwoman and like a very close story to her heart because it's literally like something that has gone on with her family. This brooch was her mother's, told about like, and I think the person that she ends up trying to sell it to gives her this whole notion of like, oh, family heirlooms, like families lie about history to
Yeah.
like save themselves from like the hardships of what their life really meant or whatever. And like I get that. I totally get that.
Mhm.
But I think overall, and I said this before with the Bane book, that when it came to the One Bad Day storylines, I think that a lot of these writers are missing the beat,
Yeah.
or all of these writers should have gotten together and said, hey, if we're writing these villains one bad day, it means this. And they
Mhm.
needed to solidify what that means for each character. Because in our heads, when we hear one bad day and we read the first few stories, they all involve Batman in a way that like Batman is the reason for my one bad day, whether it be indirectly or directly.
Yeah.
Batman didn't really have anything to do with this. So like Catwoman's one bad day shouldn't really be one bad day because this is just one random bad day,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
Well, even if it doesn't involve Batman, because like this is all building off of Killing Joke, right? Like DC even came out like we're reprinting Killing Joke because we're gonna have all of these in hardcovers, and you can make them a part of a collection. Like DC's doing something like that.
Yes.
So this is all branched off from Killing Joke, and we know what happens in Killing Joke. I think everybody does by this point. And that was his one bad day. So I figured like all of these stories originally, which is what I thought King tried to do, where he showed us kind of like Riddler's origin, right? I figured we were going to get a lot of that. And we kind of haven't. Like everybody else has kind of deviated from that. Mr. Freeze kind of had that vibe, but they were trying to change his origin, and I don't like that. Because I think Freeze is just his origin is so iconic. I like it where it's at. You can add a little bit to it, but never you shouldn't change that he's like a super asshole or whatever. I don't like that.
Yeah.
But then Penguins was just random. And like it's like, oh yeah, my empire failed and now I'm back. And I'm just like, okay, but like that didn't show anything about your past or anything. So that was lame. Bane just kind of like tried to piggyback off some other stories. Now, granted, it did show his creator, so you could make the argument that it involves like his origin or whatever. But I didn't. Why didn't we get flashbacks of that creator? Creating Bane. Like that would have been a better story. But they had to tie in Batman, where they're both addicts of venom, and I was just like, I guess whatever. I'm hoping Clayface's is better, which I think comes out next week.
Yeah.
Because Clayface is one of my favorite Batman villains, so I hope that's a good one bad day. I haven't had a chance to read it. But yeah, this Catwoman's, I like the story. I don't think it was executed well, I don't mind there being another better thief out there than Selina, because we see that happen with Batman all the time, right? Like there's always a better fighter out there, and he's got to rise to the occasion or whatever. I don't mind that kind of stuff. I hate when there's too OP. That's always annoying. But I don't mind the challenge. So and plus this woman looks older. What would have been interesting is the only thing I would ever probably take from Zdarsky's run. You could have took that old woman that trained Bruce when he was a lot younger, made her this woman, and she's outbeating Selina. Would have been kind of interesting. But this older woman is just like a collector curator. She puts these things out there so she can make money off of them because people think they're valuable, right? Yeah. And so I thought that was an interesting story. Also, she's a crazy fighter and probably a metahuman because she knocks the shit out of Selina and like walks away. That would break any old person. Like, I don't know how that happened. But the overall story kind of doesn't make sense in continuity. The brooch that they're trying to find, I have no problem with the family heirloom. I think that's kind of cool. Selina has a very broken family. She was away from her parents at a very young age. So if she remembered an heirloom and she wanted to steal that, I think that's a reason to steal something. I think that's kind of cool. Her sister being up and about, and the last time we saw her sister, she was in a wheelchair.
This was very weird to me because I was like, wait, are they writing that out of continuity?
Yeah.
Is like this like a completely different character that G. Willow Wilson is writing as the sister? Like, what is going on here?
Yeah. So that was really weird. And I was like, her sister has a pretty like tragic story. And I think you should keep the tragic story. You know what I mean? because if you don't keep that tragic story, it gets Selena's like one of her biggest villains being Black Mask. You erase that, and I think you keep some of the characters' biggest villains, right? And so I don't understand that. I thought that was kind of weird. Um, I would have been interested a little bit more to find out why the mom is gone. You know, like
They
'cause-
kind of just left it alone. They're like,
yeah,
okay, you clearly see that they're on down times in the flashback, and then her sister mentions, oh, what are you going to use the money to like help mom? But like
yeah,
it doesn't elaborate anything on their family after that, and you're like, okay, like why should I care about the mom anymore if you're not even relating to us like what importance she has now in Selena's life, you
yeah,
know?
yeah. And
Uh
I've always thought the mom was dead.
that's what I thought.
Yeah. So, like, granted, you could just be like she ran out on her kids, which is a total fine story as well, and I think would fit in the Selena character. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, which kind of like Selena's mom leaving them makes sense on why she and her and Helena have such a troubled relationship. You know, because like, oh, my mom wasn't there for me. Like, I'm gonna teach you how to be hardened. You know, it's basically the Damien Bruce relationship, but in Selena and Helena. Like, that's the
Yeah.
same relationship. And so, and it's so funny that she connects with her father so much because I think Bruce is like, I need to be the father I wasn't to Damien, which we never figured out why Damien is not in the picture anymore in any of these books. So I want to know what's going on there. But, anyways, yeah, and then let's just talk about the Batman Catwoman relationship here. I mean, obviously very flirty. They're kind of talking about like, oh, I mean, we can go do some stuff if you want to do some stuff, but I got to take care of some business, right? Because Bruce is like, I've been following this woman for a really long time. I need you to not do anything for a couple of days because I almost have a case to put her away. And Selena's like, I got to do my thing. I'm going to do my thing. And then they have a little bit of flirtatious stuff. Selena gets her ass kicked and Batman shows up. He's like, oh man, couldn't wait, huh? That kind of
Well,
sucks.
no, he specifically says, I don't want to say I told you so,
Mhm.
but I am thinking it.
Yeah.
What?
The Batman dialogue is awful. And I don't
Like
know
they
about you. I didn't like the way he was drawn.
I will kind of have to disagree.
Oh, okay.
When he first appears, let me actually see if I can get that. When he first appears, I think it looks good. Don't know why. I just
Mhm.
like the pose. I think that uh seeing everything, the belt, like being able to see him in full costume,
Mhm.
whether like not being a close up on his chest or like a side profile or everything, getting a full outlook and having the cape the way it is, I think is really cool. Uh, but I think the more and more they draw him, the worse it got. I think
Here's the
is
thing. Remember how you posted the spoiler of the Flash toys and their necks are super stretched out? This is what Batman looks like. His neck looks super stretched out in the art. And his head's too skinny. Like, it looks really skinny and stretched, and I just think it looks weird. It's like he's fucking Stretch Armstrong, and I think that's what I don't like about it. Because the rest of the book looks great, you know?
it's very odd because this specifically the first time you see Batman in this comic, he has like this weird aesthetic of the book
Yeah.
where like it almost looks like Mikhail Janin's art, which is like
Mhm.
very like almost Ken doll-esque
Yeah.
in like the tone of the body. And not saying like the six pack, but I'm literally talking about the lighting and the tone. Looks like Mikhail Janin's type of art,
Mhm.
and it almost stands out to the background.
Yeah.
Uh, and so I think that is a little weird. Uh, Going back to where you see him come up and say, "Oh, but I am thinking about it." Like his cape, they always do this with the cape. People cannot decide like a definitive way to do the cape. So, how do you like the cape? Do you like the cape that goes kind of like a bow tie to like the center of the collarbone to like over the shoulders and the back, or do
Mm-mm.
you just like the cape that kind of drapes over the shoulders and the back?
Just on the shoulders and the back. I don't like everybody draws him like he wears it as a coat. I think you can still do that with a normal cape. It's just he's grabbing the sides of the cape and pulling it over.
Yes,
You
I
know?
think it looks very awkward when they do the flaps of the cape that are literally hanging from like where like the top of his chest.
Yeah, his
It looks
collarbones,
weird.
kind
Yeah,
of.
it looks weird.
Yeah.
And you're right. This definitely looks like he's like putting his hands in the pocket of a coat.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in this one particular panel. Uh, but I do agree the dialogue was very weird. At one point, like they're making out in the top of the building, and she's like, "Oh, well, if you're not careful, we'll be up here all night." And Batman's like, "I don't see that as a bad thing."
Yeah.
And I'm like, Batman would be the one person to be like, "Hey, we need to catch this criminal," not
Yeah.
"Hey, let's have sex." Like that's just the way Batman is.
Yeah.
And they made him the opposite. So
Yeah.
I just don't understand like the dialogue choices in this book for him were very, very awkward and weird.
Yeah.
Um
I just think it didn't sound like Catwoman when I was reading it. Like, and maybe it's because of the way you mentioned that it's like she was talking to us instead of it being her inner monologue. But even the inner monologue felt weird. Like, you know what I mean? Because, like, as much as I don't like Howard, some of the inner monologues on her Catwoman made sense and it sounded
yeah.
like her. I think it got worse over time. But this one just from the start didn't sound like Selena. And I was just like, I'm not getting that vibe. But I think people just enjoy this book because they dislike Howard so much.
Yeah.
Again, I was okay with the story. I just think the execution was bad and the dialogue was not. The art was phenomenal. Besides, I didn't like Batman, but everything else I enjoyed. There was this one panel where it's like pop art where she got headbutted and her blood is splattering and her head's going back and it's a blue panel. The red is like purple. The blood is like purple and like she has this purple hue around her head and I think it looks really awesome.
Yeah.
So the art is very artistic in this book, which I think is really cool. You don't see that from too many books, but yeah, I enjoyed it for being an okay book. You know, like
Yeah.
it's nothing that's gonna blow you away. I don't think it's probably. I don't even know if it's. Where would you put this in all the one bad days? I'd probably put it
I
right
would
in the
say
middle.
possibly in the middle. It's better than the Penguin. I don't
Yeah.
think it's better than Two-Face though.
Two-Face is so forgettable for me, but I probably think it is better
Yeah.
than Catwoman.
Well, just like in the same way, like continuity is kind of weird
Yeah.
in Two-Face. This continuity is kind of weird as well. With
Yeah.
the sister, with like Batman and Catwoman not really being a thing, but being a thing. Like it's
Mhm.
all very, very odd.
Yeah.
Like there was also I know I'm harping on the Batman dialogue, but there was like a moment where Batman's like, "Come home, like just come home." What?
Yeah. I wish the dawn of DC would actually make a decision on this fucking relationship, you know? It's like we can't get them to get married, but Superman and Lois are having kinky sex in their bedroom. Like, what the
with
hell?
with the
Yes.
werewolf suit.
Yeah, like what the hell? Like, blows my mind. So, like, I don't know what's going on there, man. But overall, I don't know when we're gonna get another good Catwoman book. You know, like, how long is Howard gonna be on Catwoman for?
Who
She's
knows?
just starting Harley. Like, she's gonna be on Harley Quinn apparently. And I'm
Yeah.
just like not reading that. Not like we ever read Harley Quinn, anyways. But I just don't. I can never take the main Harley Quinn book seriously because it's just so ridiculous. It's Deadpool essentially.
Yeah.
I only take Harley serious when she's in other books. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm sad that I'm not getting better Catwoman stories. I was weary of G. Willow Wilson writing this from the start because I did read some of that Wonder Woman and I didn't think it was great. But it is what it is. The art is pretty solid. It sucks that I don't like a lot of these books more because I think the collection DC is trying to do with all the hardcovers that are One Bad Day looks kind of cool. And I wish I could buy that, but I don't like these stories enough to do that. So that's kind of unfortunate. Dude, I saw something recently and I didn't know this was a thing. I saw somebody that bought like all of the Batman books collected, but it is this insane collage over time. And I forget what they're called, but it has like everything. Like it has Jason Todd dying, it has Batman Dark Knight, it has like all of these as like the spines of the book covers. And it's like this, I forget what it's called, like a specific name for it, but there's every book is hardcover and it's like every Batman story like ever. It's wild. I don't know what it's called. But
really,
yeah, I saw it on. Let me see if I can find it on Reddit. I don't know if I liked it or not, but it was wild. But yeah, I saw some guy being like, "Oh yeah, I finally completed my collection or some shit like that," and it was crazy. But it had a specifically fucking Reddit, dude. I'm just trying to type in Batman. What the hell? But yeah, it was pretty wild. Anyways, do you think they should continue the One Bad Day series after the ones we get?
Well, it's hard to say because again, these books are selling because it says Batman.
Yeah.
One Bad Day, so and so. Right? They're putting Batman in the title for this. And so of course people are going to just buy it because Batman's on the title, sometimes on the cover, it's Batman is involved.
Yeah.
But like if you put Batman, One Bad Day, Condiment King. Is that a book we're all going to want to read?
Who's writing it? If John Carpenter's writing it, I'm reading it. You know what I mean? I think it comes down to the writers for some of those. I don't know. I just think I wish it would have been like you said. I wish they would have got in a writing room together and been like, this is what we're writing from this perspective, you know? Yeah. Because I feel like they missed out on a lot of that. I don't think I'm going to find this thing because I'm pretty sure it was in the Batman subreddit and they post so much in that subreddit. So I'm probably never going to find it. But if somebody knows what I'm talking about, it's just like a hardcover of every single Batman story. It's like Cataclysm, like all of the main huge stories. And then they have like the spines are like a big art collage of Batman shit. And it looks wild. I wish I could find it. I didn't save it in my favorites. Oh wait, can't blame. Nope, that's not it. Yeah, so I don't know. Either way, it is what it is. But that's it for this podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Clay, what do you got going on this week, man?
So this week there was no live episode of Star Wars Alliance, which I actually forgot to post the episode that's supposed to come out this week. But Katie and I did review Heir to the Empire. So go check that out once I actually post it. That is really all I have to pimp out recently. Try not to sneeze here in the end of our episode. But that's basically it on my end. Recently, my co-hosts for Ranger Alliance, Joe and Jake, and I got together, talked a little bit about the Power Rangers comics that are out right now, which is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers team up book, their second team up book, issue number 1, and I think issue 104 of Power Rangers. So go check that out as well.
Nice. Yeah, I couldn't find it. I was still looking for it while Clay was talking, but it looks insane because I didn't know they did something like that, which is wild. Anyways, I streamed yesterday again for anybody that went to the stream on YouTube and felt like I was ignoring you. I didn't know the chat wasn't working, which sucks again for 2 streams in a row. So my apologies there. But I do stream. I'm more than likely streaming Friday. If you guys want to come by, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And yeah, still just working on YouTube stuff and doing the new, working on projects for the new job and whatnot. Not a new job, but I'm working on a new project at my job. But yeah, anyways, we appreciate y'all listening. But as always, he is Fanboy Clay. I am Juice Wayne. And remember, Batman is awesome.
News Weekly.